Winds during a storm or hurricane can be 10 to 30 miles an hour stronger than at sea level. You should either take additional precautions to protect your property or evacuate. Let someone know where you're going. Sadira, your local disaster office, and this radio station urge you not to be caught off guard this hurricane season. Be aware and be prepared.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware, and you better prepare. Disaster can happen.
Okay, good evening to our listeners, wherever they are at this time. And our viewers, at this time we will not be able to view Brain. Our technician is coming down to really solve the problem, but Brain, I'm sure whatever you're going to be saying is as equally important, in what you're saying. So you not necessarily have to view you at this time. Maybe in the next 10 minutes that will be solved. Let's talk a little bit about the
education.
Let's talk a little bit about education.
Right.
We have heard some naysayers criticize our educational system, but one of the things that stays alive in education is the grade 6 assessment. Before it was called common entrance. And since as a boy going to school, I know that there would have been between 700 to 900 students. Those days in my time, there were thousands of students, around Dominica, and yet still you'd have maybe no more than 900 students sitting common entrance. We're hearing now that there are less students in school, but we are seeing some 742 students at the grade 6 assessment this year.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's a lot of controversy, For instance, people would say it's because of the availability of place during our time, because, it was very competitive, and obviously because of the number of places available, students, who probably would have gone to high school didn't go. Not that they didn't do well, but because of the places available. Right now, it's more high schools, because in our time, very well, there were only 4 high schools.
And we can name them: the Wesley High School, Convent High School, the
Grammar
St. Mary's
School.
Academy, and the Dominica Grammar School, and Portsmouth Secondary School.
But that
came later in the
Yes.
70s. So in my time, there were 5.
Right.
And in your time, there were
There were 4.
Right.
And then came the Portsmouth Secondary School and the Pierre Charles Secondary School, and later on
Castle
Secondary School.
No, but before that, we should say in the mid-70s, we got the Community High School.
That's
The
right.
Community High School came in. The Wesley High School came in. So let's take it again. We had Convent, we had SMA, DGS,
and Wesley
High School,
Community then came in.
and then Portsmouth Secondary came in.
Yes.
Then Community High School came in, and then we have seen many
other high schools like Granby,
Cassibros,
and we have other schools that are, like for instance, the Northeast Comprehensive Secondary School. So, all the high schools came on. So there are more places available now to students entering. But because basically in the old days, all students attending high school had to come to Roseau, and they had to board and lodge in Roseau. I know, for instance, men like you, Cecil, would have known where the convent hostel was. We had a grammar school hostel. So students who came from the country had to board and lodge in Roseau in the 1960s thereabout, and even before that, when they were attending secondary school. So when you got there, basically you had to stay in Roseau to get your education, and probably go up for Christmas, go up for Easter, and then go up for summer. Some people chose to remain for the whole year. So there was a question where the places were available. Now, with the GSAT exam and universal secondary education, everybody can enter secondary school. And now the question of, I hear the minister talking about examination stress. But
before we go to that examination stress, we need to focus a little bit on it. Let's go back a bit in reference to the hostels. I thought you was going to elaborate on it.
I was waiting for you, because I know you had a hostel close to you.
Well, how would you say it? There was one where the Catholic Church is situated. There was one right next to the Methodist Church, or in between the Methodist Church church and the Methodist church office. There was this where they have this place now, the St. Vincent de Paul building. There was this hostel. The Dominica Grammar School used to have one, if you remember, where
we had a hostel where I would tell you at the assembly hall where we had the assembly. We had the home economics center there, and above it we had the hostel close to the chemistry lab.
Right, that's correct.
The chemistry lab.
Yes.
We also had the hostel for where teachers slept. Charles Savre was in the hostel. He stayed at the hostel. Mr. Robinson, the woodwork instructor, stayed there as well. So teachers also stayed in the hospital, but they had their private space. They had their own rooms downstairs, but the boys stayed upstairs.
Do you think that was a better time?
Let me
Because
say,
the nurses themselves had the hostel to remember.
yeah, let me say, for me, and I could be very biased there were better times. For me, we had more social interaction among the students. We were able to, we never had that level of what I would call disruptive behavior. Like you've seen boys going to the grammar school, some of them, the way they behave on the streets. You couldn't dare do that. Or boys going to the academy.
No, you could dare do that, but something else would have happened. Because we know people that hit people with zip bottles and was expelled. So I don't want to say that they were not happening in those times. They did happen, but when it happened, you would suffer the consequences.
Yeah, but yes, it happened, but not as frequent as we're seeing it now. In terms of
it wasn't reported as frequent.
It was
because in my time going to school, my brother, we had a lot of rowdy periods, but guys would hold it to themselves. Guys would go in the toilet of the St. Mary's Academy and exchange their energy in the toilet.
But not in the presence of Brother Jermaine.
But not in the presence of Brother Jermaine. Brother Jermaine gets to know that, though, that's something different.
The letter would fall on you.
Right. I'm saying that in terms of the recording aspect of it, you did not have so many of the... Now people are much more liberal. Their thinking is different. Parents themselves are very more critical of the things that happen in school compounds and also in classes. There's much more interaction with schools and parents. So maybe that helped in curbing.
Well, I would say that the parents took a very keen interest in our education when we went to secondary school. For instance, you had to really obey the rules and regulation. If your parents got to know that, when they came to the school, your parents reported you, you got another one. You're flogged by your parents, and then you came to the school and you were still flogged. Your parents brought you there.
So right now we used to have common entrance. Right now we have
the national
assessment program.
Grade 6 national
assessment program.
But the minister is talking about shelving that.
Well, what? I know that you're biased towards education. What's your view?
My view is that you can't run away from exams. You can't run. If you go to you have to have class exams. You have to be evaluated. So anytime you're being evaluated, you will go under a level of stress. It's how you manage the stress. You cannot not have stress. You're going to take your license. You have to do an exam. You have to write an exam.
I just think they're making it plenty easier for students now, because in our time we had to do the
common entrance,
and it was a grilling exam.
You must be assessed.
Yes, you have to be assessed.
You must be assessed. So a level of anxiety will always come in.
Yes.
You will always have.
If you go how much you study.
GCE, you're going to write your GC or CXC, you will come under stress. You're going to do your diploma, you will come under stress. You're going to write exams online, you will come under stress. Exam will give you stress.
So if you're asked to be a consultant for the government on that issue, common entrance, grade 6 assessments, abolishing the both, what would be your...
I would say to them, we must come under evaluation. Evaluation is a critical component of knowing where you are and where you intend to go. We can't run away from evaluation. Evaluation is a measure. We have to evaluate our teachers as well. We have standards that we set for them. which we call the appraisal system, we must evaluate them so that we know where they are. We must have our teachers coming for exams. They are the ones going to go to the classrooms to teach the students, and we want to know how effective they are. And if we're talking about an effective education system, we must monitor through evaluation. So that business, you can't run away from tests.
So if you're running away from tests from that very tender age, it means that even when you get into fifth form soon from now, they say no CX.
Remember, even the students, you're going for their examination papers, right now, even when in preschool, I know you're going for their scores, their score, how did students perform.
But before we go across to John T, because he's already in studio, we know that the St. Martin School was the school that did the best in the entire examination. The St. Martin School sent some 74 students, as far as we know, some 74 students. And we saw out of that 74, a number of students, 20 students, receive scholarships. And when I do my maths, 27% of that receive from the number that was sent, 74, from the St. Martin School, 20% receive scholarships. No other school received that.
Yeah, they got the highest number. Yeah. And I prefer to use nominal data. What I mean by that, I'm not going to calculate the percent. You can do that.
Yes.
But in terms of the nominal data, meaning the numbers,
yes.
Out of the 74, they had
20
got scholarships.
It doesn't matter however we use it. It's going to be numbers. It's
20.
It's going to be numbers.
And then how many got bursaries?
And some 17 of them got bursaries. So when you look in terms of the scholarships and bursaries, that is some 37. Yeah. So 50% of the students that actually sat the common entrance, the grade 6 assessment from the St. Martin School, passed with a bursary or a scholarship.
And not only that, they were in the top 5 in terms of the 5 of the top students. They were in the top 5. They came number 1 with Amelia Stevens, topping, and then you had another student placing somewhere either 3rd or 5th in the top 5.
Something St. Martin School is doing something, because it's a very long time we have known the St. Martin School doing very well. Very well in the sense that not every year they do very, very well. But most years, St. Martin's School is the prime school in reference to doing very well at the either at the...
We can say the CXC, they do very well.
Yes.
At the common entrance, which they did very well.
Yes.
At the grade 6, they do very well. So they have always maintained, although they have not always been at the top, but they have always been a very effective
competitive
school in terms of their performance records.
But anyway, we have with us our guest already in studio, John Toussaint.
Yeah, but before you head to him, I just thought I would tackle you on the Iran-Iraq war. John, just give us 5 minutes and then we'll let you breathe, and then we'll come to you.
I think this time Donald Trump was wrong when he thought that there was going to be a ceasefire. I suspected that someone was trying to trick the Iranians, but the Iranians were brighter than that. Also, too, if you realize, during that course of the week, the Israelites took the opportunity again to strike Palestine, and it was very, very critical. This time around, especially now that the world is speaking loudly on the matter. I intended to speak to an ambassador who lives in Palestine. She's a very good friend of mine. She lives in Palestine, and she's been updating me with quite a number of situations in Palestine, where Israel, as a matter of fact, she spoke to me. She spoke to me this week, and she was saying to me that a number of children and women got buried in one of their bombing saga in Palestine. So I think Donald Trump and the administration of the United States now need to speak with Benjamin, because I think that's going beyond. we normally would know, especially when Fidel Castro was alive. They were talking about, especially the United States, about to take Fidel Castro to courts because they felt that Fidel Castro was not dealing its people's right. Here it is in Palestine. We are actually seeing the Israelites creating a genocide inside of Palestine, and I think the world should start to speak about it.
Netanyahu was tried, by the World Court. He has been deemed as a war criminal.
But he has been deemed as a war criminal.
Yeah, but he was
has he been taken off from being
because what is going on in
Prime Minister
Palestine,
of Israel?
No. Because everybody knows what's taking place.
The world has spoken about this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take, for instance, Israel is an ally of the United States.
Yes.
And the United Nations has taken a decision that the embargo on Cuba should be lifted. But there are only two countries of the world that stands, well, one country stands in the United States to refuse to remove the embargo, and that's Israel. And I'm saying that the closest that I saw the United States speaking on the issue was when President Obama was there, and he felt that the Israelites should cease. We remember when this guy, he died now some years ago, Arafat. Some people of the world was looking at Arafat as a troublemaker. But today, Arafat has gone a long time ago. Remember, Arafat was the leader of the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization. And I'm saying it is high time that we tell the world. When I say we, I'm saying about the world. Leaders should now tell the United States, tell the United Nations, even tell the World Bank, because there are times that they have to go to the World Bank for monies. We have to put some sanctions on Israel.
No, boy, let me tell you something. Cecil, how the world is run. The United States is the power broker.
I'm not in that thing.
No. The United States.
I am not in this thing about the United States is the power broker.
You know that.
The United States is doing wrong, and if they're doing wrong, we must make the United States know that they are doing wrong.
Yes, but
all right. I think we have to be straight up and to make the United States understand that their ally, their friend, their comrade Benjamin is not doing right to the people of Israel, to Palestine, and now to Iran.
Well, if he had voted, if he had taken the position that you're taking, then the Palestinians would have had their homeland. Palestine would have been a state.
But that's what.
But it's the United States holding it up.
But that's what we are saying. We are saying that look at what's happening in the West Bank. Look at what's happening in Gaza. People are dying every day. The Palestinians are dying every day. We are seeing that the Israelites are going inside of this people place, and wanting to take the lands of these people.
But it's the land they want to extend Israel.
Gaza,
you're too sensitive. So I would suspect that the world has already agreed in the majority at the United Nations that Palestine should have its own independence.
I would like to see what's going to happen in September at the United Nations meetings.
But let me throw something, and it's controversial. Does Iran have a nuclear bomb?
No. No.
Because they were meeting on Sunday. They were supposed to have the meeting.
Yes.
On Sunday. And Israel bombed.
Right. Yeah.
Killed the guy who was supposed to be negotiating.
Yes.
And the world has know that the International Atomic Energy has been there, monitoring.
But they know there isn't.
So why bomb?
Why bomb? You forgot what they did to Saddam?
Why the United States?
You forgot what they did to Saddam?
The United States bomb.
You forgot what they did to Saddam?
Cecil, you understand, and me and you understand what is happening in the world. That small island states.
I know you're not. I am not into the small island states. I'm about how intelligent that we are, and how we can solve problems. We are in our parts of the world. The Caribbean is the most peaceful place in any part of the world. In all parts of the world, the Caribbean is the most peaceful. So we are the better people. We are the better teachers then to tell the people of the United States and to tell many other countries of the world how peace can shake hands and allow people to live a better life.
Very theoretical.
Let's stop talking about...
Very theoretical, and it's fairy, you know.
They're not fairy.
Because when we know the reality, we know the Caribbean is in fact...
Well, you know what the world has to do?
What?
What the world has to do is all the leaders that are together close shop on the United States. Because the United States is trying to close shop on everybody. The United States is out there like not giving you visa. You see, like me now, personally, they can hear my voice. I do not have an United States visa. I don't need it.
Right.
But I am saying, as a country, Dominica, we have bilateral relationship with the United States. We can speak to the President of the United States because we are members of the United Nations. And we will speak at the United Nations meeting and to tell the United States how we feel as to what is happening in Israel and now in Iran.
But we have been doing that all the time. We've been
But I'm
telling
saying-
them. We've been telling them that.
Oh, let me tell you.
So I know your gripe. A lot of us feel that way.
No, but we should not be feeling that way and keep our trumpets.
So we should
not
do
blowing.
something.
We have to do something. We did something in South Africa. We in the small islands did something in South Africa. We worked together with Fidel Castro to go to Angola and to fight the South Africans. And today we have seen the blacks and the whites living together in South Africa in a better world.
Let us begin to look at our international relations. It's a very controversial subject, but you know,
John T lives in Cuba, so John T can
you know,
when
when they tell you when when the United States catch a cold, we feel it.
I don't feel no United States cold. I don't think that cold if you know.
Well, boy, you have John T there, man. So let's go to John T now because that is highly controversial.
Good evening to you, John T.
Take one.
John T, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Cecil and Brains. How was everything with you all?
Boy, I know that you, maybe yourself was itching you to maybe even take a part in that controversial discussion that we both had.
You're so correct, Cecil. You're so correct, because I've been following this thing, and it is inhumane what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. And at the same time, I looking deeper into the whole political implication of what's happening. Because, I mean, the Israelis, they attack Palestine. Right now, they bomb Iran for political reasons. I mean, they are just the front line for the United States. And we have to understand, this thing just cannot continue. How can you tell people go to release center, you bomb the release center? You tell people go for food, while people rush in for food, you bomb the place where they get in food. This is genocide. That cannot be correct.
It is. As a matter of fact, John T, we will all remember that in Germany, the world cried on Hitler. The world cried on Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And Hitler had no other choice. He disappeared. We do not know where he disappeared to.
Yeah.
But what we saw was this same European Jews left Europe, left Germany, and doing worse than what Hitler did to them. It's another genocide that is happening in Palestine.
Right.
And we have to talk about it.
Well, people must talk about it. If you don't talk about it, you just continue. That is why they see Iran as a threat in the region. They see Iran, what the idea why the Israelis and the Americans attacking Iran is because they don't want Iran to have any nuclear weapon. Iran is the supplier, the trainer of all the groups that are surrounding Israel.
That's correct.
And if at all Hezbollah and Yemen and all of them, if they have to
come together,
it's
a problem.
Israel have problems.
Problem in the Middle East.
So all they're trying to, the whole politics is to protect Israel. We have to get rid of Iran. But why Israel can have nuclear weapon, but Iran cannot have?
Listen, if by any chance, and if you have to look at the BRICS, if they have to play a role too, China, Russia, India, if these countries, South Africa, if these countries themselves are going to play that role as an ally to that of Iran. And the countries of the Middle East are going to play that role. We're going to have some serious problems.
Hang on there. Iran, Russia, South Africa, and some other countries, Brazil, are part of BRICS, you know.
That's what I'm telling you.
So if, for instance, remember in Iran, you have the Ayatollah, and the Israelis were talking about regime change.
And you heard what the people in Iran said. There's no regime change.
You know,
As a matter of fact, they're giving greater support now to their country.
Because Iran is
right
one
now,
of
you're
the,
correct, Cecil. They're more united right now.
They're more united.
Out of the son of the Shah came up and say he's there to protect them, and he's just talking. Is regime change around? Is changing the regime so that put a puppet there like they have been doing all the time.
Well, you know, the regime was changed in Syria.
But that's exactly
But
what
that's
they're
what
doing.
they're talking
Regime change was in
Iraq also.
Iraq.
Yeah,
And
that's
you know,
what
regime
happened.
change was in Libya.
And in Egypt. And in Egypt.
Right.
Yes.
And what happened?
Regime change.
What we saw in Libya, what did we see in Egypt? What did we see in
Libya
Iraq?
go
What
down
did we
to
see
the
in-
worst. Libya go down to the
Worse.
worst.
Hang on, because what they're trying to do in Iraq, in Iran, is to call all these fellas from Azerbaijan and those countries bordering Iran to split it up, you know.
But
That's a plot, you know.
But that would not happen.
That will not happen. Matter
That
of
will not
fact,
happen.
I don't know if you are following Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso.
Yes.
And that's the same principle of Gaddafi, Sankara, Patrice Lumumba. The same thing. Unite Africa.
Unite Africa.
And once Africa is united, it's a force to deal with. But the neo-colonialists didn't know if at all the countries are divided, you go to one to the other, you turn one against the other. You have people fighting each other. You come there in the name of peace. So how many years now? And more killing, more attacks.
And Jonty, we're not going to see that happening, eh?
No.
We're not going to see that happening because those leaders in Africa now, they are much more united, more than ever. More than ever. And we are not going to see they're going to divide Africa like they did before. We saw the division of Egypt, we saw the division of Libya, we saw the division even in Angola.
But remember, Africa was divided, you know, before among the Europeans.
The Europeans
you have
did this.
Portugal take
Yes.
part of Africa.
Mhm.
You have the British take part of Africa. You had the French take part.
yeah. Yes.
You had that, you know.
But the thing is that why this cannot happen again, people said straight, there'll not be another Gaddafi. And they say straight, even if the puppets presidents of Africa, even if they want to support America, but the pressure they're getting from the young people,
It's not possible.
the young people
See what happened?
demands what's going on because
41-year-old.
Africa
A young 41-year-old.
is,
See how he has.
How many
made-
assassination attempts?
18.
So you think the French just going to sit down there and allow?
The
I'm just
people-
saying
the
that.
people, but you have to understand the power of the people. And if that is to happen by any chance, an assassination is to happen, remember what I'm saying to you, that the third world, or the first world, the first world is going to be in problem because Africa will not stay idle by and allow it to happen.
Well,
not again. I don't think that will happen again because
What happened to Gaddafi will not ever happen again.
not happen again. It will not happen again.
What happened to Saddam Hussein will not happen again.
well, I'm to Assad.
What happened to us will not happen again.
Well, with Assad is something completely different. Eh?
Hmm.
But you see Gaddafi was talking about
The bank.
an African bank. That is what Sankara was talking about.
Yes.
And that's what Patrice Lumumba was talking about. Africa must unite. And this is what they were talking about. And that is what the colonialists... I mean, Ibrahim Traore, you could see the difference that he's making. And this military guy just came there and talked about he's using Burkina Faso wealth or gold for himself. And the amount of demonstration, the demonstration was over all the world supporting him. So it's not easy right now to take over Africa, and he's leading by example. He doesn't want anything for him. That's another Rosie. I see him as a Rosie. Rosie would give people everything that he has and stay without. That was Rosie, because he cared for the people. That's Ibrahim Traore. At 34, he took over
Those
for the
guys,
same reason.
the first world will not want to hear our voices in the region. They will not want to hear our voices because
But they hear you.
because we are a country of peace. Because the region is a region of peace. We can work and get those problems
But
solved.
when you talk about they hearing us, the CIA operates
whether they
throughout
hear
the world.
if you bother these people here, man.
Everything that's
My
happening
brother, I don't bother
within
these people
small
here, man.
islands,
Because
they
it is
know.
not fair. It is not fair to the world. This is not fair to the world.
What is right, and what is wrong is wrong.
I mean, Benjamin is overdoing it now in Balistan. He's
Well,
overdoing it. And we must be able to say to Benjamin that you're overdoing it.
Well,
But the entire world is saying that.
you know here about the Messianic philosophy. You know what that is?
No, help us.
Well, let me tell you what it is. We are the protectors of Jesus, and therefore any nation that trying to take over Israel will pay the price.
But that is
That
foolishness.
is
That is what they
nonsense.
say.
That's
Foolishness.
nonsense.
Will pay the
That's
price.
Because as I said to people, that the Jews that are now in Israel, they are European Jews. They are not the Jews of Jesus Christ. They're not the Jews that came from God. They're not the Jews. They are not.
But
Let us not fool ourselves.
But that's what they say.
Let them say that if they wish.
And
Sometimes they are fooling the Christian
And
world.
a lot of the Jews have their base in the United States.
But-
They are the
but that's-
billionaires.
listen,
They
the Jews,
control.
the Jews, what do you have to tell people? There are 9 million Jews
In Israel.
in Israel.
6.
6 million is
In
in the United
America.
States. 6 million in the United States.
And they have the money.
and they have the wealth. So that's what that's what really propping up the economy of the United States. These 6 million Jews.
Well, that is it. The kind of support they give to the politicians.
Yes.
So the politician has to be on their side.
Because they finance the campaign. Eh?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they do.
So if they, for instance, Trump wants to do otherwise within the White House, he would like to, but the Jews play a very important role in deciding what happened because the Israelis were already on the back foot.
But you see, you cannot.
That's why America came in to bomb.
You see. I am my disappointment in Donald Trump. He's a man of his word, and he said he's going to speak to Israel in the campaign. But now I'm saying that he's not speaking to Israel. He came in with a flash by saying to Israel, "Let's have a ceasefire." But that ceasefire was a facade, right, John T?
Yeah, but he knows definitely. He knew he do wrong. He went there without getting
Permission.
congressional
Approval?
approval, and he knew he was wrong. But they tried to do a quick fix. They decide to go there, put some bombs on Iran, destroy their nuclear thing. That is what they're afraid of.
Yes.
And once they do that, they pull back, and then he say, "Okay, let us negotiate now." But what they did not know is that the Ayatollah would hit them back with the same amount of missiles that they sent.
And that surprised them, eh?
They surprised them, and they went back.
And they had to pull back.
And Israel never knew exactly what the arsenal that Iran has.
No, they don't.
When they get a few, and they're not to get the worst, because Iran not going to use their top-notch thing now, because they don't know if America tomorrow will come in.
And if America does come in, you're going to have the neighboring countries.
Well, you may have Armageddon.
It will be a world war. It will be a world war.
You're gonna
Because
have to-
China is prepared to come in. Russia said anything that Iran asks, they're prepared to help Iran.
Well, the Battle of
the
Armageddon.
Chinese will be,
And North Korea.
and North Korea will be there.
You
So
see.
what are
so-
we heading into? The
It's a world
possibility
war.
of a nuclear war. They're going to use nuclear.
So I
But
think, and that's what I'm saying.
the
right
Russians
now.
said they will give Iran nuclear thing if they ask for.
And I'm saying, in September at the United Nations meeting, the rest of the world has to speak straight to the United States. If it means you have to come together to put a sanction on the United States and Israel, do that. People say they're scared to take positions on the United States because they consider themselves as the vanguard of the world. No, they're not. They are the warmongers of the world.
Yeah,
they're the
but
ones
don't forget,
creating the
United
wars.
States control the World Bank. They control IMF. They make countries poor so that countries will continue to beg them. Countries will continue to rely on them. Their defense, the top-notch defense, other countries want those equipment. So they have to, after United States.
But
and that's how it
gentlemen,
is.
they control the They control the finances of the world.
That's the point I'm making. World Bank,
Okay,
IMF.
anytime you have to send your money, you have to go through the American Bank of America.
That's why the BRICS. That's why
I'm
the
happy
BRICS.
about the BRICS.
Bank
That's
of
why the
America.
BRICS is about.
The BRICS
Freeze
move
your
away from the
assets.
US dollar.
That's what it's
They
about.
freeze your assets.
The BRICS,
you can't
no,
spend.
but you can't freeze Russia. You can't freeze in India. You can't freeze Brazil.
Put sanctions on you.
No,
What
but
what
it cannot
they
work.
gonna do then?
It will not work.
Listen, you have to understand that the BRICS fiscal backing is stronger than that of the United States of G7. You have to understand that.
Well, there has to be a
BRICS
new financial system.
You know, this
but there is.
Brain, the strategy behind sanctions is this. If you put sanction on a country, you're going to get the country poorer, and the people going to be poorer, the people going to be hungry, and the people going to revolt against you. That is what they say. But in Russia, that cannot work. In Iran, that will not work.
In India,
In
that's not
India,
working.
that will not work.
In China, that cannot
But
work.
we vulnerable.
No, it's not.
You see how long? See how long they have
vulnerable,
that.
John.
See how long they have that on Cuba, and it has not worked.
It has not worked.
It's only now a lot of pressure on Cuba because of everything that's going on today. But Cuba withstand this for 60-something years.
60 years.
That's a long time, Miss.
It's a long time.
A long
And
time.
a neighbor, besides a neighbor.
90 miles away from the United States.
Yeah.
It's a neighbor.
So I'm saying that.
But let me ask you all guys. See what's happening in Haiti. Has the Americans intervened?
But they're the ones who allow it to happen. First of all, it's the French.
John, I'm asking you that directly.
Let me
What's
tell
happening in
you.
Haiti with all this killing, with all these gangs? Who's
Comrade,
allowing that to happen?
That is what they want. They want the people to turn against each other, kill each other,
And then they take
destabilize the
over. And then
country,
tell you they can take over.
and they say they come in and help you to protect you against those people. But all they're trying to do is take your wealth. Haiti is a rich country, you know. Haiti have minerals, you know. But when you look in the region, Haiti is the poorest. Because what they're showing us about Haiti is the poor people in Haiti, you know. You understand what I'm saying? So once they cause destabilization, people fighting each other, people killing each other, they come to help. See what happened after when they had the big disease outbreak.
That's COVID.
No, after COVID. Before
Cholera.
COVID. Cholera. And they say it was the American military people that really spread it.
They said and they started this by saying it's in Africa it came from.
You know. So we have to understand exactly what the people are about. Same thing happening in Africa. They will go, they will take your gold, they will take your diamonds, they will take your everything. Now, so that they can take it and go, they have to distract you. They will tell you, okay, this gang will arm you. But where are they where all those gangs in Haiti getting their weapons from? Somebody has to be supplying them, you know. It cannot be the government.
Where's the United States they're coming from? We know that. Let's not hide it.
So-
all them guns coming from
So
the
they
United States.
want it. They'll control it when they want to control it. The more you can kill people, the more you can. It's that same thing. Is same thing Israel trying, you know. Same thing they're trying.
I know. I've been to the United States several times. I know I've been to Israel 3 times, and that issue I'm talking about right now, I mentioned it in Israel. I know that for a fact.
They put you in jail?
No. As the mayor of the city of Roseau, I had to give a speech, and I will always say that Dice had a beautiful song, "Tell My Brothers For Me," and I told my brothers for them. I spoke to my brothers and to tell them that there's something wrong. There's something wrong. At that time, Obama himself was president of the United States and was somewhat requesting of the Israelites to push back.
Let me throw something at you. You have Saudi Arabia, right? You had Syria. You have Egypt. You have Iran. You have Turkey, right? Israel is surrounded by powerful neighbors, and yet they're controlling.
They're not controlling. These people are just. You
Why?
Have to understand these Muslim people. All right, these people are not warmongers as they try to make us to believe. All right, these people are more psychologically brighter than the Caucasians, and by virtue of that, they will do things at their right pace, at their right time. Nobody pushed them to do what
Brain.
the Middle East is different from the Western world.
Brain,
But
1 minute. Brain.
Israel was created in 1948.
Brain, 1
Yes.
minute, 1 minute, Brain.
Go ahead, my brother.
the idea that all of them are wrong Israel and Israel still control, because the Americans want Israel to control. The Americans give Israel everything they want for defense. They have nuclear weapon on everything. And the Americans ensure that the surrounding countries have puppet governments that will support Israel, that will support them. So they will not go against them. They will not go against them. That is exactly what happens. So that is why Saudi Arabia is not, Saudi Arabia and those countries, they're not against America. They support America, you know.
Yeah,
They're allied to America, you know.
as a matter of fact. Yeah, allied to
Egypt, they just put one. Iraq, they just put. Syria, they just
They
put.
tried it in Venezuela. They tried it in Venezuela. As a matter of fact, they were recognizing another individual over that of the present president.
Boy.
And why though?
When you attack the United States, the first thing that the United States tell you, regime change. That is what their philosophy. We need to have somebody in there
We have seen
that toes
we have
American
seen we have seen in Central
foreign policy.
we have seen in Central America when the United States get out governments, and we saw what was the result or results of Central America when America did that.
They got rid of IND.
We saw North Africa, the same thing happen. And we saw the results. We're still reaping the results.
Let me throw something at you, John, and we're coming to you. You know the Americans said they wanted to control Canada.
Well,
That's a joke. That's a joke.
But they wanted. They said they're taking the Panama Canal.
Yeah, you can take that literally.
Well, as a matter of fact, he said the Panama
That
Canal
belongs to the
United States.
And you know,
Yeah,
and
Trump said that.
And the Panama, the authority in Panama Canal came and made a declaration that that's not so.
and you remember some.
And as a matter of
is it
fact,
Alaska?
during the elections, they had the fact finding, that's what they call it, when they're having these debates. That when Donald Trump came and brought that up, they went and to find out, and it was said no, the United States doesn't have the Panama Canal.
We hear another one. Trump said, "I want Bagram." You know where Bagram is? Afghanistan.
That one is impossible.
Well,
one
John,
is impossible.
very
Well,
interesting
anyway,
debate
we're here to talk
and
to John.
discussion. We had to talk about your
We had to
people.
talk to John.
John, good
And
night.
thanks, John, for actually joining the conversation, because I think this kind of discussions is very healthy, and I've made it very clear before that the national radio station has to help in guiding, in helping in building minds and making people have a greater understanding, because a lot of the times we get vexed when we don't get a United States visa. We get vexed, and we get vexed if someone speaks against the United States and not understanding the balance. So I think it's important that DBS Radio, the national radio station, can get resource people and have that kind of discussion for us to have a greater understanding. All the time, what we're doing is most times listen to CNN and Al Jazeera
And Fox.
Sometimes BBC. I think we too have bright people who are understanding, analyzing those issues, and can make do with the issues.
Okay, fair enough.
But Cecil, what we were talking about a while ago, we were not talking against the United States.
No.
We were just stating facts as is.
Right, facts. Facts. And I like that.
Facts.
We are friends of the United States. We're not allies of the United States.
Yep.
But the fact remain that there are some things that need.
What was our philosophy in the Labour? We are friends of,
We are friends of all,
but you are satellites.
but satellites of none. So
So we're non-aligned.
So we are non-aligned.
Okay, John Tila.
We are non-aligned.
That's what it used to be. Yeah, you're correct.
John T,
Yeah.
thank you
sir.
very much for coming, and I'm happy to have you. The Lakou program is, I'm not so sure how many times have you listened to the program, but it is one that attracts quite a lot of people. Every week, people give me names of people I can talk to, and I'm happy that we have you here tonight, John T, to talk about your Lakou life. John T.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Cecil. Unfortunately, when you asked me for the first time, I could not make it. I was already occupied. And tonight, I make it a point of duty to be here with you. So, good night to you again and to the listening public.
Thank you, John T. No, let me go with you first. My brother, you could ask John T the first question.
Well, John T, first question to you. Where did you begin your Lakou life?
I really began my Lakou at Rosalie. I was born at Rosalie, and I should tell you, Rosalie was more or less the central of the Southeast. There was the school, the church, the police station, the exchange, and everything was centered around Rosalie. Matter of fact, people from Petit Soufrière, La Plaine, and those people, they used to pass through Rosalie, go through Grand Fond, pass through the lake to go to town. So Rosalie was a central area, and that is where I was born. And my life as a young boy at 5, 6, what I knew at this time was, you go to the river and you bathe, etc. My family migrated to Grand Fond when I was 6 years. I already started primary school at the age of 6. Of course, to walk up that road every day was not possible earlier than 6, and there was no preschool at my time. During my time, there was no preschool, so I started school at the age of 6. Attended the Grand Fond Primary School, and there I worked my way out. I was involved in practically every school.
But before you went to Grand Fond, I know you went to Grand Fond at the age of 6, but what was your life like in Rosalie?
Well, Rosalie was a big estate already. After the Second World War, 3 white men came and they bought over, or the governor at the time, who was British, gave away land to war veterans, and 3 of them took over Rosalie, and they got rid of a lot of the population, more or less. Some people went to Petit Soufrière, some went to Rivière-Syrique, and others went to Grand Fond. And at that time, they were controlling Rosalie, and they wanted to get rid, or they got rid of everybody living at Rosalie, ended up in the police station and everything, all the fabric of Rosalie, all the infrastructure was damaged and abandoned. When I was a little boy, I can recall the boy less than 5 years is following my mom going by the river, etc., etc. So it wasn't too much then, because the population at the time wasn't too big. Many people had left and gone to the neighboring villages, as I said. My family was one of the last ones to leave Rosalie, and we moved from Rosalie in 1958, 59.
So where your Toussaint came from?
My father was a policeman. May soul rest in peace. He died in 96. And as I told you, the police station was at Rosalie. And those days, a police, a teacher were the big ones in the communities. If your people send you a letter, or you want to write a letter, those people had to write a letter for you, or those people had to read your letter for you, because education is not like now. So you know a lot. As it continues today, young people, young ladies are vulnerable to the police, and it so happened my father happened to be a police. I can say it like this because he not really fathered me, but that's how it was. My stepfather really fathered me, but my grandmother had me as a last son. So that is exactly where the Toussaint come from. My father originated from Cassibruce, but he was a policeman at Rosalie when I was conceived.
And your mom?
My mom is from Rosalie.
Okay. Father from Cassibruce. Mm-hmm. As he said, in those days, the girls liked the police officers.
And the teachers, the principals. And these women were vulnerable to those people because, they're big men, they're making money.
It wasn't money at the time. It wasn't money.
Prestige?
It was prestige.
Okay.
Police of today and police of yesterday, two different police. From a distance, you could know police of yesterday. They always used to be neat and
speak and span.
Yeah, but today, policeman with you definitely is the police.
All right. So the women fall for them.
Well, they were the educated people, you would call it, Is that I would help them to read their letter. If they want to do something, is the police or the teacher that would help them. because they never went to school. They couldn't read and write as we can.
So you all left Rosalie, your family left Rosalie, and went to Grandfond.
Yeah,
Is Grandfond or Grandfond?
Grandfond.
Grandfond.
Right. We say Grandfond. I think it's the Creole.
The D silent
Creole.
more or less, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Creole we normally use, Grandfond. You know, say Grandfond. So yes, John T. So you all left. You went to Grandfond. What was your impression as a boy growing up about Grandfond?
The Grandfond was a pleasure to be in. I mean, we did everything. As a young boy, when you fly your kite, you roll your sack, you play your cricket on the road with shaddock or tip ball, you do all those kind of things that children do. But again, those days, not because you were a child 6 years, you didn't know what we had. You had to go every Saturday in the garden. You had to go for food. Every morning you had to go for water. There was the standing pipe those days. So you have to go down in the source every morning before school for water to come back. So this is exactly how we did it.
Tell us a little bit about that source, because every community had a source, and most times the source would have been a distance away from home. Especially when it rains and you are from the country and your country is mud. Give us that kind of life.
No, the source, there's always a track to the source. Source is water coming off on the ground. And you would put a piece of wood over a leaf or a piece of garbage, anything that would make a sprout for you, so you can collect your water in a bucket.
But even when rain falls, does the source get dirty?
No, not really, because the water comes from... Okay, if you go to a ravine for water, it will get dirty. But if you take the water that's coming out underground, it's not going to be dirty. It's not going to be dirty. Those who's not... No. We would do that in the morning, make 2 trips, and fill a little tub, and then take your bath and go to school. And when you come back in the afternoon, it's the same thing. You have to go for water. But we used to take that as fun. With your bucket is your truck. And you as you go in your bucket, you steer in your bucket. You know, you have it in your hand and you're making your noise. Vroom, 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 vroom. And when you reach a corner, you blow in your horn too. And you go, it's fun because it was joyful. It's a pleasure for us to do those things.
That is strange, Hartley. What John T is saying there. I remember in Tobino, you had to take your sometimes our gullet and our bucket. And yes, John T is right. Vroom, beep, 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 beep. Kawe come in.
Yeah.
Alex come in. It's
But
strange.
how did you do that? You all had trucks now up there.
No, not the time. No truck at the time.
So how you making that noise?
No, with your mouth.
No, but you knew about trucks then at the time.
Of course.
No, well, those days when I'm talking about going for water, we would not go in the area motor rubber. We were passing in track to go for water.
Mm-hmm.
But and you run in, actually run in, barefooted, you run in and get your water. With your bucket in your hands, when you fill your water, you put your bucket on your head and you go home with it. Some people used to go with the dirty plates, they go there, wash their plates after, put their plates in the bucket and take it home. That is how it was for what at the time.
What about calabash?
Well, calabash, a lot of people used to calabash to eat for
No, I'm talking about, I know...
Bori.
Yeah.
We used to use calabash to collect the water.
No, bori. Same calabash.
When you make
But instead of cutting it half, you
Make
put
a
a
hole.
little hole in the top.
Yeah.
So that's a bori.
But
Well,
in our time, we cut it in half so that we could take it and put into the bucket.
yeah, you could put it in a bucket to take water,
Mm-hmm.
but calabash is more or less we used to use that to eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Bori.
Well, I know for us, we used to use it to eat. We used to use it as a bori, and we also use it to collect the water to put
Right.
into the other thing.
Well, the one way I know, and which John I'm talking about, the Caribs have it too. They make a hole, and then you put the water in it.
Yes.
That's
the
bori.
calabash, when you cut it in half, use it to eat food.
Yeah.
So that's how I know it.
Yes, John, you go ahead.
So that's what we used to do. And as a young boy growing up,
So how far was the the source from your house.
But what there were three of them. Three of them at different distance. If one dry, you feel too many people in that one, you go to the next one further. And that's how it used to be. You see, 2 wrong pan and guanchime. That's the 2 was the closest one. Yeah, wrong pan and guanchime was the furthest one.
No. Get into these areas. In most communities, there's a fond, a little track, but a fond. And when it rains, you still take that risk to go there. But if you miss, you go down that fond.
Yeah, that happen all the time. Sometimes your water fall in and you have to go back and fold it. But when you have your bucket on your head with one hand, if you realize it'll go too steep, you rest the other hand to give you support to climb. But on all the banks at steps that they make on the bank, so you put your foot on the step. As you said, if it's raining, the step can be slippery and probably you can fall. And if you fall, you have to go back for your water. You can't go back home without water.
But this was the life, Adams. It was a crucial life.
By the way, you had were there any lights? No, you all had lights at the time.
No, not at this time. We didn't have light. Those light was kerosene lamps. Those is kerosene lamps.
Buzai.
And in your kitchen, before you go inside, buzai. You see, is a bottle with kerosene and a cloth top on it. That is a buzai. That's what we used to use in the kitchen when you cooking late. But it's more or less we had our kerosene lamp with shade. That's what most
utility.
Yes.
Just imagine lights, water, things that you need. God is such a great God. He allow you to get water in the source, and that source was always fresh water, right, John T?
Yes, always fresh. Always fresh because water's coming under the ground from spring water. That's why we call spring water today.
That's very good.
And toilets. What about toilets, John T?
Well, all of it was pit toilet, pit latrine. Every big house, every big family, the richest one, the poorest ones, everybody uses pit toilet. Pit toilet. Some people is in the country, the place was not as populated as now. Probably would have a spot at the back where they used to do their stuff, but most people had pit toilets. They make it with a wooden seat. A wooden seat, and you sit on your wooden seat comfortable.
And you dig your hole.
You dig a hole first, then you put a wooden frame, and a wooden seat, and you sit on it. You cannot flush that one.
No, John T, what is the experience that you'd have had with big cockroaches and red ants? Not much red ants.
No, red ants is a common day thing. 99% of the time, when you say you go in the garden, you're getting bitten by red ants. You're getting accustomed to red ants. Red ants is no problem. If you're from the country and you moving in bush, red ants is a joke. It bites you, it stings for a little while after that disappears. You don't bother with that. You don't bother with that. Cockroaches, also there are lots of cockroaches. There are always cockroaches. But I believe now has more cockroaches than before. Because you have more waste food, more food around that cockroach will come for. At first, there was much cockroach.
What type you had, the red one or the big one? There's a type, the black one.
Yeah, the red, black one, yeah. That's what we had.
And when you get into that toilet, you have to see that they must visit you in the toilet.
Oh, yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
That's why I talk about the red ants and the cockroach. Because you're talking about the latrine.
Yeah.
The latrine, you must have cockroaches. You must.
You have to wipe that seat before you sit on that one, because red ants might just bite you.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about. Once you have the latrine, you must have two things. You must have cockroaches and you must have red ants.
But there's another thing there, I don't know whether you ever see it. It's a thing, I don't know if it's an abola, they're always watching,
No, the sandoli. Well, those things not harmful. They're all also, they're still there. They won't bother you. They're on the wall.
But women afraid them.
Yeah, people are afraid of it. What they have to be afraid of,
they see it. They're always in a toilet, especially the pit toilet. They're always there.
And the other thing about this pit toilet was some people that was very fearful of the pit toilet because they were being made of wood.
Yeah.
and it depends on the type of wood that you make. Sometimes it can break with you and you fall in it.
No, but they always make sure the toilet's safe, man. Those days is local wood they used to use, hard local wood.
Yeah, man.
So it used to be safe, man. People were never afraid of that
Falling in
with
that,
them.
bursting on you.
No, John, to give us an understanding as to what your mother kitchen was like. We know in those days the house is one way and the kitchen is another way, and the toilet's right at the back. We understand that. But give us the kitchen. What was?
Well, the kitchen was away from the house, and it's a wooden fireplace. So you had to go for wood every Saturday. Is a custom to go and get wood. You had to wake up in the morning, early morning, light your wood and put your black bomb on fire to make tea, to do everything. That is when I spoke about the buzai. Most times when you're cooking late, dinner in particular, you have to have a buzai in the kitchen because there was no electricity. So, and those days you used to have 3 meals a day. You have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Nowadays, people don't eat dinner. In the country, since you take your lunch, it's 1 meal more or less they take a day. But those days it's 3 meal and is your provision and your meat and sometimes no meat. You know it is per family how life goes sometimes in the country.
Galter, what about Galter?
You have to have Galter. You have a Galter outside because after you wash your plates, you have to put your plates on the Galter to drain. And another type of Galter on the fireplace, on top of the fire, you used to put your wood there also to get it hot and keep it dry so that when you come to light it, it can catch easily for you. So.
And what about your pork? You wasn't putting your pork on it?
Well,
salt?
Yes, a lot of smoking used to take place that way, but it's completely different from today. When you smoke, they smoke the meat real dry, and they used to use a lot of fig skin. After you peel the fig skin, to give it the meat fire, to give it a lot of smoke. But today is more heat we use and very little smoke. But those days you had to put your meat on the fire, on the wood, and put a lot of fig skin in it so that the fig skin is green, so it sends out a lot of smoke. So it dries the meat that way for you.
Some people use free stones. Some people use stew. What was your favorite?
Well, most people use in the kitchen 2 stones. 2 stones. Outside, when you're cooking outside, you use 3 stones. But in the kitchen, usually it's 2 stones.
I wondered that was an African thing because I deliberately asked that question because I know in the country in Vickers, we used to have 2 stones in the we have our Galter, but you have 2 stones in the kitchen and 3 stones outside. And John is telling me just the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wonder if that is something that we took from Africa and we brought it down.
It could be.
African tradition.
It could be.
What about coffee?
No, well.
Every morning?
Every morning, the grown-ups had to make their coffee. That is a strong coffee. And after they draw their coffee, well, of course, you have to make the guep with the cloth and the coffee, local coffee those days, and you pour your hot water in it and you drain the first set, is for the grown-ups. That's a real strong coffee. And after that, they pour water in the same coffee. They call it the mac cafe. That is for the children. But I stopped drinking coffee at a very young age. So.
In your family, milk or just black coffee?
Most time it was black coffee. Milk was not dominant like now. So, although what my mother told me is my grandfather, my great-grandfather used to have a lot of cows, and they used to go on the cow to take milk. Just milk the cow straight and drink it straight. So those days they could get me, but when I was there, during my time, I did not have a good time with cow milk. So sometimes you drink tea without milk because, how often your mother go downtown to buy milk? That's a different story.
Yeah. But what you had for bread?
Bread, most times you have your cooked fig in the morning or roast plantain in the morning. That is what you use as...
No bakeries, or you had no bakeries at the time?
Well, later on in life, yes. But the early days, it was more or less, that's what we use when we go to school for breakfast. You cook your fig or you roast your fig and you get your cocoa. That was always there, your cocoa tea. And then you go to school.
You had breadfruit?
Well, when you have breadfruit, you could roast breadfruit during breadfruit season. But what was always there was the cooked fig.
Lapland always used to have breadfruit, and he's saying that in Grand Fond, it always cook fig.
Fig and plantain.
Yeah, but breadfruit is seasonal. Breadfruit is seasonal.
I know.
But later on, everybody have bakery, everybody getting bread. So everybody moved to bread. And right now, if you tell young people about fig for breakfast,
Or plantain.
or plantain. But that's what we had. That's what we had. That's what we had.
And what a lunch was like.
No, lunch was always good. You would have your, that time is cod fish. Cod fish was permanent food.
Yes.
Cod fish was
Cod
permanent
fish
food.
and smoked herring.
And smoked herring. Now it's Scotchman is big man stuff.
$14, $15.
You see, I mean, it was codfish, and when you go, you have your codfish. And okay, I should tell you too, those days, our parents used to go to the river often for fish, for VO, periwinkle. You get in your dome, your teta, your cocoa. You get in this thing. When you clean that, you dry that. And in the country, you never broke. You never run short of meat because you can go in the river and get VO and get your coconut and you get your kalaloo and your coconut, and it was great.
No, not only that, you have your civic too.
Well, civic, rainfall, everybody going for civic is a common practice. Once rainfall,
Civic
a lot
time.
of people going for civic and it's cooking civic. There's something that we used to do. They call it boucher glow. That is when you block one end of the river. You double stream, you block one end to dry it, and then you throw nivwe. That is a green bush. You pong it, and then you throw it in the water. And then them fish getting drunk when they...
Nivwe, I never heard of that,
Yeah,
of that,
man,
of that
yeah,
plant.
They getting drunk. So as they move in, you just pass in and you holding them, you put them in your bowl. Families you go in group 2 or 3 or 4 to block the river because you have to carry stone, you have to take old banana stalk and block that to make sure water do pass. And then when you throw the nivwe, the water shallow, you make any water shallow, that's why you're blocking it, to divert in the water. And then when you throw that inside, you go for... So that is why, that's how most country people used to get their meat.
Boy, see the life, boy.
And who raise their little pig is for Christmas?
Well, pig Christmas time. Nobody can touch that pig
It's
until
Christmas,
Christmas.
yeah.
So what about supper? What you all did for supper?
Supper is the same thing, you know.
Fig.
Your fig dashing and your whatever meat you have.
So what about bush tea in the night?
Well, bush tea was a normal thing. You not only in the night, you having bush tea in the day, in the morning, you can have bush tea in the night. In the country, my parents and them used to drink coffee twice a day, and in the morning, and about 3-4 o'clock, they drink coffee again, you know.
Sure.
So
what was the popular bush tea at the time?
basilic, ciment comptoir, those bush. Those bush you used to get spice and those kind of things used to drink.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Ginger. Is that the bush you used to get, yeah?
Did you ever eat kaplau, the wild yam?
Kaplau, okay, what's kaplau bread?
A kind of wild yam.
Saint-Martin.
Yeah, that's how you call it.
Yeah, kaplau, you call it, yeah, Saint-Martin. Oh, well, that is a common food or during Christmas time.
Yeah.
When it's Saint-Martin season, I mean, that is a thing that everybody going for.
Get the wild yam.
Yeah, the wild yam, when you get a nice dry wild yam and you have that in smoke, nice smoked fish. That used to be nice, man.
No, I know your sea in the East Rosalie Bay was very rough. It wasn't a popular place to go to catch bigger fishes than that of the fish in the sea, in the river. Sorry.
No, well, some people used to go in the sea to fish. People would stand on the stone, on the rock, and sign their line and catch fish. But those days, the river was well populated with fish and all kind of fish. Crayfish, book, teta, dome, millet. All those fish was in the river. So it's a matter of, as a little boy, going with medical line and pushing it on the stone, pushing it to get one and take it. And some women, They used to actually go from stone to stone, pushing their hand on the stone and catching fish that way.
You all ever had zanji, the one like the snake?
Well, Zanji, we always say that all the time, you're catching that.
And all you eating that too?
Of course, why not?
No, you normally say millet. Is that what you say, right?
Yeah, millet.
But in Roseau, they say mille caca.
Or you add caca to it, you know why? It's millet.
So it's Roseau add caca to it then?
It's Rosa that add caca to it. Because of what used to take place in the river.
Mille caca. I thought that was a popular name around the
No,
country.
man.
So Roseau people are responsible for the name.
Yeah, the
Mille
caca.
caca.
Yeah.
They qualify. But the same fish.
Yeah, they were same fish. But Roseau people had caca to it.
The caca in.
No, because that they used to use the members by the river. Most people used to use.
I agree with you, John.
So Roseau people
Had
add
caca,
caca.
because that's where they throw in the
And,
stuff.
and you look at John, he was waiting for that long time. You know, Johnny Sims.
All you had caca to it, Roseau.
We don't normally take calls very early, John, but someone, as soon as you said Mille caca, someone called. Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening to you, Mr. Joseph, and how are you?
Great.
Great.
My boy.
How you know, my boy?
I know the voice.
I want to ask Dr. Toussaint whether they ever went looking for chaloupe, because I used to remember eating chaloupe of that time, and nobody doing that anymore. Chaloupe.
Thank you.
Yes, people have been looking for that. People have been looking everything. People have been going for mushrooms. People have been doing everything. You know, those days had all these things in the bush. Nowadays, you can hardly find that. People cut trees. People use all kind of herbicide and this kind of thing. You will find that. But people used to go in the sea for all kind of sea crab and all kind of things in the sea. People used to get that on the sand. Chaloupe, you're correct. People used to get that. I mean, that was life at the time, eh? Life different now, completely different now.
No, John T. While you say life completely different, I want to know what the life was like in the yard. Because, in the country, you used to have some big yards. Houses distance apart, but you had some big yards. But plenty children at the same time. Tell us the life in the Lakou.
Well, Cecil, because of this same thing you talk in the big yard, and you had the families, they used to be very close. So you find the children playing all the time. And during the moonlight in particular, you will have people playing whoopsie, you playing lawan. I don't know if you know what's lawan, ring games.
In games, yeah.
Yeah. Whoopsie, you go and hide and someone saying, playing mama and papa. When your mother give you food, you take out some for food for you to play with your mama and your papa, and etc. That is how it was as a child, growing up in the big yard. Everybody was one with a lot of respect too. It's the same thing, Cecil. When I was a young boy growing up, we used to go in the river to bathe. 99% of the time, we were naked. Boys were naked, probably girls have like a pantheon, but guys always naked and jumping in the river and diving in the river.
With the girls.
Everybody there. Nobody care. Well, no, you can't do that.
Big girls play. I'm diving and you diving.
Everybody diving.
Let's go to the telephone quickly. Good evening to you, caller.
I am Cecil. I know it's early. Good evening, Brain.
Good evening.
But I want to get on the right track. To say,
Yeah.
I know the one who lived in River Street is Madeleine and Hazel and Ross and all of them.
Yes.
Are you that person?
Yes, Marlene was my aunt. When I left,
Okay.
when I left country to come to school in town, I live with my aunt all my life.
It's in River Street.
River
Okay,
Street.
I am.
And you
Okay,
live
I'm
in,
listening to you.
and you
I
live
have
in
the
at
right
the river
to-
bank, and you live in right on the next street to the river bank next to us.
Right. Okay. I have the right with that.
Yes.
Listening.
Yes,
All right,
Vado.
then. Thanks, Vado.
Okay.
Because I have to come to that part of you coming to Roseau. So I don't want to get into that too quickly. So John T, you said that you all did a lot of Lawan, especially in the moonlight. Outside the moonlight, what did you all do at home in the yard? Would you all have Buzai and grandpa and grandma or mommy and daddy would give you all some funny stories to make you all scared?
No, that was always the case. But that was not, it was the family in the house. Your mother would always give you a story. Or Kope Lape and Kope Tig and Bra and Nancy and this Diab and how many river Diab and by the time they finish give you the story, you're afraid to go outside to pee. You're afraid
Tukuya, Guadia, Petit Diable.
So we used to get all those kind of bedtime stories, but it was fun because those days didn't have television. And when you finish, take your dinner, everybody inside. You will tell your mother, give your story, and your mother will just, I don't know if they're making it up or what they're doing, but they'll give you stories. And most of the stories have to do with some kind of devil or some kind of witch or some kind of supuyan or some kind of lajables. That's the kind of story they used to give you.
But you see, John, thinking about it as you're saying that, if you ask the question whether they were making it up or not, I think they were making it up, but they were bright people.
No,
to make those stories on the spur and to allow the stories to relate. Beer Nancy and Beer Rabbit and what Beer Nancy doing to Beer Rabbit, to think of those things as a teacher. I mean,
no, boy, Cecil. They created some of the stories, but most of the stories were handed down by their parents to them, you know.
Some true.
Quite of the stories of Guadiab, Petit Diab, Bianansi, these stories were handed down from one generation to the next, you know. So they transfer that story to you.
So John, you had the experience many times when your parents would have given you all. By the way, how many siblings you have?
11 of us.
Prolific, man.
I'm second.
Hold on, your mother and dad?
No, my mother, as I told you earlier on, my upcoming, I was the only one with my father. As I told my father, policeman, and I gave you this story earlier on.
Yes.
So I was a passerby.
As some persons would say it, a one-night stand.
I don't know if it was one night. I wasn't there.
But you're a brave boy.
I wasn't
You're
there.
very brave boy, John.
No, but
It's true.
I always talk the truth, Papa. I don't know if it was one. I know, but I know. I'm the only one with my father, and with my mother, I said 11. My father had about 16 of us.
Wow.
My father was a policeman.
Your father was prolific, man.
Yeah, my father had about 16 of us.
Okay, so I'm talking about 11 siblings at the house or all together?
No. Never come 11 because we were not born together.
Now I'm trying to find out, at home, did you have 11 brothers and sisters?
One living in the house one time? No.
Yes.
No.
No, not living in the house. I mean in the country. Okay, your mother had how many children? That's the question I should ask.
In all, my mother had 11 of us. Matter of fact, I am the godfather of my last brother.
Wow.
Because those days you have to have godfather and godmother. Now, my other brother is the godfather of my last sister.
Wow.
So I just want to tell you, Cecil, everybody not at the same age. There's a big age difference. There's a big gap. So you wouldn't find 11 of us in the house at any one time.
Okay.
You see, as I move out, I come to town. One of my other sisters in town, my other sister went to live another place. So my mother continued. My mother was young, and she was married. So I mean, and those days you're lucky if you don't get pregnant, Cecil.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're inside, You're inside, though.
Yes. I know my auntie had how many? I think my auntie had 10, you know. So
My auntie had 9.
Auntie Louisette, I think, had 10.
My auntie had 9.
9. So in those days, according to John T, you're lucky not to get children.
Yeah, look.
If you do not have a child, that means you're barren. Or the guy can.
Yeah, boy.
Because there was no television. There was no radio.
The radio.
Or if you get your radio, a little radio, not to entertain you. So after you work hard, you take your bath, you go and sleep, you wake up, and I don't know. What else to do?
I agree with you. That was the country.
On the weekends, you'll find the fellas going to play domino and drink their rum.
Yeah, so they come home.
But during the week, it's work, home.
Now, John T, 11 of you all, bedtime stories. Your mom would have to give you all those stories, or your dad would have to give you all that story, or those stories, to go and sleep in the night. How you all used to do it?
Afraid now, Cecil. Those days, everybody didn't have their own bed, you know. All of us sleeping together. Matter of fact, most of us sleeping on the floor, on our bedding, cover up. And when you get the story, you cover your head, you cover everything.
Crocker's bag?
No. That time they used to have not too much crocker's bag, but some used to have flower bags and old bedding.
Yes.
And you take them flower bag and they would sew them together to make bed sheet. So when you have your shit to cover, and they give you a story yourself, you do, and you cover up, you have nothing to come by you.
So not live it.
Oh, you're afraid?
So that causing you to peep in bed then?
Boy, Cecil, to be
tell me.
honest, that caused you to peep in bed. You're feeling you want to peep in
You cannot go outside.
You can't go outside.
But not really outside, you know,
those is
because you
at
have a
home.
tent.
Yeah,
So
like a
yes,
tent
yes.
You check not far away, but the house in darkness.
The house in darkness.
But John T, even if you hear a little bush passing on the house, you think it's a sukui that's on that house. You know?
But fellas used to do that, you know, Ben. Fellas used to pass with chain.
You remember I said that to you last week? John T.
You about the fellas
Last week,
oh, you
John
passing
T.
with chain?
I was giving,
Not me. Fellas used to do that.
I was giving them the joke last week where I lived in Bath State, but there was a lady, she died, no, may her soul rest in peace, Ma Augustina. She was from La Plaine. She had cows, herself and husband had cows. And she was a kind of wicked lady. So we used to go and unchain her cows and take the chain, this big thick chain, and drag it in the night time. Around 7 o'clock, you know. Drag it. And with a little shit on your head.
Yes.
And people saying, look outside. You know.
Yeah.
Fellas was doing that in Grand Front too?
Yeah, man. Fellas, you do that. Fella, there was a particular guy. The man would dress on in right and just lie down across the road. There was no electricity. It's darkness. And fellas probably have like a flashlight. When you see that, it's right.
You're running back.
He lie down in the road.
Look at who in the road.
And they ran out, they just rest on the side of the road, man. Frightening you, man. And you had to run.
So they lean on a tree.
You had to
But
run,
how have you
man.
not seen his face?
No, man, you can see his face. You see that white thing.
Man's not brave enough to take the torchlight.
He
Man's not brave enough to take the torchlight and put it in your face.
No, but Freddy, you're ready.
Man running back. Because anyhow you approaching that man, he'll come on you.
Yeah, he come on.
So you must get scared.
He led on a little mango tree there. He did that.
So I remember in those days, my mom used to always say to us, if something touch you, it's not a lugahu. Don't worry if anything touch you, human. It's a human.
John T only had that way, Papa.
But I don't know about the touching because I never experienced anybody touching me. Neither have I ever seen Lugahu, but I always heard that fella's shaking chin. And I know fellas tell me, hey, Von that pass us, so I was about
Boy.
It's fun, the country was fun, man.
And so John T, you would have had guys your age in around you all. You also play knots.
Oh, yes.
What was the life like? You know, guys playing knot or playing marble hole. Was it competitive exchange of nuts? What you all were doing?
No, we play nuts so as to win people nuts so that we eat nuts. That's what we do. We would play nuts, and if you win, everybody going for nuts. It's in the bush, we going for our own nuts. Once you get your nut, you come in to play nuts. It's like you gambling your nuts, you playing it. hitting it or sending it in whole. And
We used to call our own bloche.
Exactly, broche. Send it in whole, and what you win is yours. When you go home, you roast your nut and you eat your nut.
Yeah.
So if the person lose all theirs, they lose all theirs. They have nothing to do with you. Marble hole, we play that all the time for fun. We do play hopscotch. We play skip. Country life. That's what we had. No computer, no phone, nothing like that.
What was the life like when it rained?
Well, everybody inside, and that is when people used to go and look for seaweed. As I told you, when it rained, everybody would look for seaweed. And when I can recall going with my mother and them on the rain, you must get wet, you know. You go and look for your seaweed, and when you come back, get a kalalu, you take coconut. When you come back, they take off the wet clothes, they take a nice shot of rum, and start preparing that. The rum is to warm you up because you're under the water all the time, looking for the seaweed, you know. And,
can you imagine people drinking the rum to make you warm?
Well, yes.
In those days?
Yeah.
And that's the local rum they make it, eh?
Well, local rum or rum they buy, we always hear a little decanter rum. We have like a decanter rum. They won't drink it to get drunk, but just to put it in and start putting
Did
it
they
in
have
food.
pipes too? Did your parents and them have pipes?
My,
Did they smoke the pipe?
No. My stepfather was smoking cigarette. My mother never smoked. My grandmother never smoked. And I never smoke. You might not believe I never smoked in my life. Not marijuana, not cigarette. I never smoke. Probably one of the reasons is because I'm athlete on my life. I've been running on my life. So I never smoke. But a lot of people smoke, and my stepfather used to smoke.
So people in those days used to have a lot of pipe. Or if not 3-5, Benson and Hedges. These were popular cigarettes.
Hillsborough.
And
Hillsborough
then
was
later
the
on
most-
Hillsborough came. And when Hillsborough came, it was a Dominican cigarette and everybody was smoking Hillsborough. Now, what was the popular thing in Grand Fort? You saw the elder folks smoke the pipe, or they smoke the
Pipe. Mostly everybody pipe. All them old men I can remember is their pipe rung across their mouth and hanging down.
Yes.
And when you have their pipe in their mouth and they felt on their head, nobody bigger than them. They felt their hat on their head and their pipe in their mouth. They're the big boys of the city.
And you seen them cutting the tobacco.
Oh, yes.
Cutting the tobacco. And
Right.
And throwing that in the pipe
pipe,
and they lighting it with the lighter.
Yes. A big man.
to the children not even seen that, man.
No pipes, man.
No pipes.
Well,
There are pipes, but not those flash ones we used to see in those
Well,
days.
a
No.
pipe was supposed to be prestige, you know.
Yes.
Fellas had, if the pipe is curving,
that's what I told you,
you're
yeah.
a big man, you know.
Yeah.
You know, those little old
But
white
them
pipes.
fellas, when them fellas smoking the marijuana now, they have their how you call that?
Oh, what do you call that now? The chalice? No.
Their chalice. Is something similar to pipe, but it's not a pipe.
Chalice is a big thing.
Yeah.
And the pipe is the little thing.
Like
they
a
put in
thing,
the- put in the
curving,
thing,
you know. Even in Roseau, they had that
Mm-hmm.
as prestige when you have a pipe.
When big fellas just buy their pipe, just cut vary, man. They're the big ones in the village, man. So they have
When
their
they walk-
pipe, man. Yeah, man. And they felt that when they go to church on a Sunday.
Yes, I was coming to that now. The church, predominant church, Catholic.
Catholic. You know, lately there we have Pentecostal and Baptist. Lately, some less than 15 years, probably 15, 20 years.
Grandfather church now?
Yeah, Baptist Church came to Grantham with Horace John Weiss, probably in the 70s. Horace John Weiss in the 70s.
And he was from Grand Fort,
No, from Grand Bay.
Grand Bay.
That's the first
Oh,
one.
Horace John
John
Rees.
Rees.
Yeah, he died.
He died some time ago.
Yeah, he
Talking
was
Pat
part of
Joe.
the Evangel. Yeah, he had that
yes,
radio program. Yeah.
that Creole program. Yes.
Yeah, he started the Baptist Church Grantham. But right now we are Baptist, we are Pentecostal. Like a village, you have about 4 or 5 churches Grantham.
So in your days going to church now, John, Catholic church. What was your life like, or your family? Not just your life, your family life on a Sunday, getting ready for church.
On a Sunday, everybody was looking forward for church. And as a child, there was children mass, high mass, and vespers. Vespers is in the afternoon. Children Mass from 7. High Mass is from 9. And Vespers, I think it was at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So when you go to Children Mass, you leave home. Most of you have to walk from ground for no transport. When your parents come into High Mass, they would bring your breakfast for you. So you would take breakfast, then you would stay for High Mass. Most people stay for Vespers, but because Vespers is more prayer in rosary and singing. That was more or less what the Vespers was all about. The priest preaching was in the High Mass, and the Children Mass for children, like teaching you about Bible teaching, Bible studies, etc., etc., etc. And for children, they also used to give little Holy Communion for those that make First Communion already too. So that's what it was.
What's the priest?
When I was a little boy, I used to be an acolyte.
What's your priest?
Boy, Bougad and Father Bougad, a French priest, man. All of them were French priests. White priests and them. I used to be acolyte and always at church. Every Saturday going to confess.
Hey, hold on. Hold on. So let me ask you, as you say that, you come to the acolyte business in a way. You used to lie to the priest about the confession?
No, you don't really tell him lie, you know, because the priest tell the priest everything. But you will not tell the priest exactly. You'll tell the priest, but that was nonsense. Anyway, tell the priest, I take my mother sugar, my mother that 5 cents, a penny there, I take it. I use bad words. You don't tell him what words, you don't tell him I use bad words, bad action, and those kind of things. And tell you go and say 5 Hail Mary for your parents.
So I know some of us who made our First Communion, before we made our First Communion, we had to go every Saturday and do our confession.
Mm-hmm.
But when we did our confession, most of the times I would tell the priest something is lie. We were talking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to tell the priest something.
Yeah, you have to have
you have to. So that's why you say bad words. And
you never use a bad word.
Probably not.
So that's where the lie was.
Bad action, bad word, bad action. You take your mother sugar, because those days when you go into school, you will take your sugar and that time I had non-fat milk. You put sugar, milk and coconut, you put it in a bag and you go to school. You know? But your mother don't give you the sugar, you take it. You steal, huh?
John, this is still why.
Yeah. But they don't get to you. You steal. So
but that's the home own.
Yes, but you have to tell the priest you steal it.
So now, John T, you're an acolyte. The Presbyterian didn't have no fish pond.
No, man.
But had mango trees.
Well, the acolyte thing is that on Sunday you go, you get ready, make sure everything that priest gonna use is there, and you put your clothes on, and when the priest talking, you know, because I was Catholic, you know exactly what is next. So you know when you have to get up to go and take that, when you do that, you know.
You ever use the smoke now, the thing?
Well, yeah, you have to go and take it for the priest, and one person gave him I don't know if it's gum or what they put in it for it to smoke, and then he blessed him. If after they get to you, then you have to go to the congregation and smoke them. I don't know exactly what that signifies, but they know.
Cecil, laughing, you give smoke to
all of us. Once you're an acolyte,
you smoke it.
And you have to ring when
ring the liquor bell
for before communion.
Mm-hmm. You have to put on your head. Everybody put on their head. Ding, 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 ding,
ding. You know.
It was a pleasure, though. Those days was a pleasure, man.
Those days was a pleasure.
You like that, Cecil?
Oh, yeah, man. I used to want to go to church just for that.
But let me ask you, John, when you was an acolyte, the girls look at you now.
No, man. Those days are now different in your brain. Those days, at our age, you don't really think on girls, you know.
Yeah, because you dress in a uniform.
We didn't say, in my time, there was no girls as acolytes.
No, there were no girls as acolytes.
No, I seen there plenty girls as acolytes.
There were no girls as acolytes.
Boys alone.
Boys are acolytes.
No. Let me ask you, John. Did you help in stealing the priests' communion when you couldn't make first communion?
No, I never did.
You never did that?
You never eat that.
You were an acolyte, man,
No,
brother.
I never did.
Every acolyte who did make first communion
We're
yet
still eating.
would go for the key, know where the John, you docking man, John.
No, I never did it. I never did it.
You never did that?
No,
You
no.
had no fun as an acolyte, man. You did everything straight.
But I don't know. I've been straight through.
So fellas never tell you, John, let's go and take some, what do you call that, some lusty.
But Cecil, the truth is, they used to get us afraid. You don't the priest to such a sultan.
This is when the priest catch you and
And
shake
shake a
that suit
sultan.
on you.
You'll
It's
see all
limit.
your life.
It's limia you'll get.
Limia pocham.
Limia pocham.
So you don't priest to say we shake sultan on you. So you're not gonna take the
It
priest
was
very
different
well.
from the country to the tongue. The guys in tongue didn't care.
Well, I mean, tongue already is tongue. Yeah? I mean, control more respectful. Always.
Because even as an acolyte, I can tell you, I don't know if the pond's still there, but we used to go in the priest presbytery yard and going for our strainer, going to church and going to our strainer and take the man fish, you know. Yes, take the man fish. Father Charles and other fellas.
Right. They were more serene in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, the country was
very
more
deep
holy.
in their religion.
They were very holy.
Yeah.
With them French priests.
Yeah.
Very
People are
holy.
afraid of priests
So
those
imagine
days, you know.
fellas just climbing the I never did it. Climbing the wall, but it wasn't a wall. What do you call that? The
Spikes,
fence.
uh-huh.
The spikes fence where the
And
bishop
grafted
is.
mangoes.
They used to have a grafted mango tree.
Oh, that we could do.
And fellas used to climb that and not take them and
You had mangoes now in the
No, we used to go for the church, the priest mango. We used to take cane. When the priest put the cane, we used to take cane. You give us, we take. There are lots of nuts, cashew.
Okay.
We used to go and get that. It's a priest own and priest land. Priest not there, we go in and pass at the back and we take it. As children, we do that.
No, John T. What about going to church and sitting on the church step, not going inside? Did you do this kind of things?
No, I never did that. Every time I go church, I go church.
Just
When
inside.
they give you the money for the offering, you always put the money in the offering?
Nobody. when you put the money, all the money in the offering, what are you gonna use to buy your tablet and your peppermint?
Oh my God! Everybody says the same thing, man.
They rob the church.
But everywhere, everyone we speak with, Brain, as you know, last week we spoke to somebody said you can't give the church all the money.
But you have to
If
put your
if that we don't have recess for the rest of the week.
No, we're not for this big. Outside the church, after church, they always have people selling peppermint and tablet and them things. If your mother don't give you enough for you to give the priest half and take half, if it's a little 5 cents you have, you don't want to give it to the priest. No, boy.
You have to preserve
What you
that.
going to use with your tablet?
You have to.
So, which means all of us did that.
Yeah.
So
All of you
no,
have-
so if we have to go to hell,
All of us
that
done
will
it.
make us go to hell straight.
Yeah.
Because we've already church money, our mother give us the money,
No, man,
and we don't put all.
that was not the church money, you know.
At least you
Don't
don't.
say it was the church money.
Right, at
It was
least,
not.
at least
It
you
was
can,
your mother money asked you to give to the church and you did not give it to the church.
But that is something
that
else.
was the culture, man.
No, but Cecil, you're a child. Children have to have fun. And then tablet outside, you want your tablet. You want to eat. You want to do this. And then you have one little 5 cents, you're going to put it in church and the priest getting more. Remember other people giving the priest, you know.
Yes, other people in
So
the
you're just saying
society.
the priest getting already. You can keep that.
Why? So I think, boy,
You,
if-
you have company.
I alone, Melina has company, Brain has company,
Yeah.
Renick Thomas has company.
We born there.
Huh?
Well, if all these fellas have to, if the priest have to charge all you
Peter Piper has company.
company.
Yeah, man.
Everybody
Well, that was
has
the
company.
culture, man.
That was the culture.
Things so tight. Things so tight.
No.
Not tight. It's just a child. You just want to.
A tradition.
You're a child.
It was a tradition. You know
wanna-
what I'm saying? It was a tradition.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and your mother knew that you're doing that because they too did it.
Of course.
So they know you take the 5 cents to buy a tablet.
So why they don't give you extra 5 for the
Well,
priest?
Where they
that's
getting
all they
it?
have. That's all
Where
they
they
have.
getting it? That's all they have.
You check?
But those days, a hip, there was plenty money, you know.
Yes.
When you get a halfpenny, plenty money, you know. A tablet was a halfpenny, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get they used to make in country a bread with 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
They selling that for
10
penny, you
cents,
know.
penny.
No, 10 cents. When I come Roseau, bread was 10 cents, but in country bread was penny and 5 cents.
No, let me ask you. You ever took silver foil and put it on the penny and one shop?
But yeah, all of us do that. There was an old lady. There was an old lady grandfather. She could not see too good. She had a shop. As young fellow, you take cigarette silver, you put it in that, and you're rubbing that. And you go buy my Edward for your sweetie. Sweetie, buy with it, you know. You go for your sweetie with it, 10 cents. You give me your sweetie, you put it in there.
Boy. What about you did that, right? No?
No, I never did that.
Well, don't try that with me, my brother.
What are you doing? The 5 cents you're turning into a 25 cents now? Or the penny into a 50 cents?
The penny into a 50 cents, the halfpenny into a 25 cents.
Yeah,
It's more or less the color they were looking at.
Yes.
It's the color. They're not looking at numbers.
Remember the brownish color was for the 10 was for the
5 cents.
No,
5 cents.
the brownish color was for the 2 cents,
2 cents.
and
Yes.
1 cent.
Yes.
The
Kinda-
5 cents was
Kinda greenish,
kind of yellowish,
yeah,
greenish.
greenish,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know. So for the 5 cents and the 10 cents, they had just that the 5 cents are like a thicker.
Okay.
You check for you not to know that as a person. So some of us used to take the silver thing and put it on the 5 cents.
To turn it into a
Turn
25
it into a 10 cents.
Okay.
And the penny, you do it for turn it into a 50 cents.
More than 50 cents was plenty.
And
Man.
the halfpenny, it was turned into a 25 cents. So you have to do that well. And I'm sure if people out there, they remember that. All of us did that as boys growing up.
Oh.
Children, man.
Children.
Children.
If you're caught, you're caught. If you're caught, you run in, but just
No,
when you go home, you get blows.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Cecil. If you get caught, you get blows. And if the person, shopkeeper, catch you too,
You get blows from the shopkeeper.
yes,
Yes.
and you can go home, you know, and say that. More blows, you know.
And not only that,
And sometimes they're going to tell you more, there's more blows again.
and
You know.
not only that, you know, they say everybody in the community know you're volley, you know. John T. say you're volley. Cecil say you're volley.
Never catch you, says?
But you know, my catch.
But that's not something that happens all the
We
time,
should take our time to find that down to the T, because remember, you have to make it join. So you put in the back. The back is what you have to, because most time people looking at the top. The queen face they're looking at, you know. Because you have to try to make the
Queen shine.
You have to make the not queen shine, you know. You have to take the silver and try to make that whole thing of the queen face come on that.
People.
So when you give that to the person, they feel in the 50 cents. Because the 50 cents was fake.
People.
Just want to say good evening. A number of persons are 72 people. John T is on with us already. That's quite a lot. Jennifer Christmas James is watching. Kelvin Francis is watching. Werner Alfred is watching. Shirley Joseph is watching. Darlington Proctor is watching. Nichols Dennis is watching. Teresa Fridges is watching. Claudia Dangaben Yuzeb is watching. Wallis Sentile is watching. Aaron Libron is watching. Maria Joseph is watching. Derek Mann is watching. Brad Wallis is watching. Saxon Laura is watching. Raymond Blackmore, good evening, is watching. TD Joseph is watching. Jordan Morgan is also watching. We'll continue the names later on. Now, John T, let's go a little bit to school. You said that you started school at age 6.
6 years.
And you would have studied in ABC class?
Yes.
Give us that experience.
No, when I came from Rosalie and we migrated to Grandfort, I went to primary school. There was no preschool. Those days I was a shy little boy going to school. I can remember my first day at school, afraid, shy. I can recall they took me home.
You cried?
Well, of course you cried. They took me home because I pee my pants and all this thing. I can recall my teacher used to hold my hands to teach me to write. Yes, I can remember those kind of things.
Slate?
Slate, yes, slate. You start with slate.
Pencil?
Slate, you start with slate, and as you start growing up, you start going to school with half an exercise book, not a full exercise book, you know. Half an exercise book, because your parents could not afford to give you a whole exercise book.
A pencil.
Was it they couldn't afford, or that was just the tradition?
I don't think they
Because I
could
can't believe everybody did that.
No, there was no money.
They could not afford. They could not afford. So it would give you half a size book and your piece of pencil. Because a book have to share between you and your brother or you and your sister, one book. A pencil have to share between two of you. And that's another thing, I say. It's a fight for the eraser. Everybody wants the eraser. And there's only one eraser. One have to do without eraser.
And a fight for the one with your name on the book.
Exactly. So that's how we used to do it. The one with the name with the book don't get the eraser. The one with the... Because everybody want that part of the book and everybody want that part of the pencil. But the parents could not afford to give everybody a book and a pencil. So that's how we used to do it. I went to school. And as I grew, as I get bigger, I had my own challenges. By the time I was in Standard 3, Standard 4, my stepfather worked at Rosalie on the estate. My grandmother worked on the Rosalie estate. And when my mother was not with child, she also worked on the estate. But when she was with child, so she has to cook lunch. And Cecil, every day, from Monday to Friday, I have to leave Grandfather, go Rosalie, drop food for my parents, and then come back for school for 1 o'clock. Leaving school 12 o'clock, praying together with the rest of the students. We used to leave on the upper part of the village, go up on the upper part of the village, have my lunch, and put a carrier, a bowl type in a towel on my head and a carrier in my hand, and Rosalie I go. And I believe that did me good in life later on, because from SMA days, when we reached there, I've become an athlete. I've been running all my life, and as I speak to you now, I still do my jogging.
So you had to run?
Khaki and blue?
No, man, we do not really have. I can't recall the uniform, Those days we didn't really have uniform,
So wait a while. With the school, you go to school. What time school starts?
School starts 9 o'clock in the morning.
So 9 o'clock in the morning
to 12.
You do your assembly.
And 1:30.
So how do you find time to bring the carrier with food? You're not in school.
Yeah, I go in. You see, my other brother, when he would go to carry the food, he would not return for school. But I always liked school. I always wanted to go to school. So because of that, they sent me to Rosalie every day. Because when I got coming back to carry the food and to come back for school. But I used to do that, go Rosalie, drop the food, and come back and still play cricket before 1:30.
So you're running, man?
Yeah, man. I used to run down and run back up.
How many miles? How far is Grandfather from Rosalie?
Not run, walk. It was 2.5 miles.
Wow. So you go 2.5 miles and 2.5 miles back.
Yeah.
You're running and walking.
Running and walking.
Wow.
When you go in, mostly running, but when you're coming back up, it's a hill. Grandfather is a hill. So you're running and walking.
And you do that every day?
I was doing that from Monday to Friday.
Natural training.
That's 5 miles, man, a day.
Natural training.
But I still reach into school sometimes before 1:30. And I play cricket before bell ring.
Wow. And how long did you do that?
But I did that for many years, until I left to go to secondary school at the age of 12, 13.
So let me ask John T. You would have had some good teachers in your time.
Oh, yes.
Tell us.
What's your principal?
Very good teachers. Very good disciplinarian. Mrs. Roberts, Gertrude Roberts.
Taught you?
Yes, my principal, my head teacher. She was disciplined, she was strict, she was interested in the students.
Did she flog you?
Well, many times. When you come to school in the morning, as a young fella, you have to stand up, you have inspection, and she puts a pencil in your ear. If the pencil can't pass, you have blows. She watch your foot. If your foot are like dirty, say you play before, your feet are clean. You have to show your fingers. If your nails dirty.
More licks on you.
Yeah. She used to go out of the way to give us extra classes, especially those who are going to do exams. And if you fail, licks again. So you have to do good. You have to study. She was a very good disciplinarian, and she was a very, very good headmistress. And she gave me my foundation, to be honest, to be serious in life. And I always say to myself, that is why when I go to Rosalie to carry food for my parents, I would always come back. Because I just know the only way you can move away from poverty is by educating yourself. I knew that from small. And I decided I have to go to school, I must go to school. And I hustle myself and go to school.
So you reach common entrance class now. You're in common entrance class.
I made a mistake. Well, they registered me 1 year younger. So when I had those days, the principal, they used to send you to do exams, but they were looking at the percentage. Earlier on, you were talking about percentage of passes and so on. At first, that is what they were using to grade the schools. So the teachers, what they used to do, if you're good, they try to keep you back. They don't try to send all your good students one time. If you have another chance, they try to keep you for the following year, because they want the school to be at a certain level. And this happened to me because I was registered 1 year younger. When I had to go and sit, I was at 7. She said she'll keep me for the following year. And then by the time the following year, they called the exam, I was just 12, going to 13. So I could not do common entrance. But the same year, I did school living and I did the SMA exam. And I passed both of them. And that's when I went to SMA.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. But I could have, matter of fact, one thing after every exam, the whole class would go over all the questions. And those days I was very good at maths. And I used to know, just show me thing one time I pick it up. And then she regrets she did not send me. But it was too late. So the following year, when I was supposed to go, I was some months older. So I went to the school living and SMA entrance. Myself and Abraham Brown, two of us have gone for school together. I went to the SMA exam and both of us passed.
It's a good history, boy. Mm-hmm. No, before you arrive before we get into you at SMA, when was your first time you came to Roseau?
Boy, when I was making first communion, you know. I had to come Roseau to buy my shoe. That's the only time those days when you go in Roseau, you had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because the truck, like a one-ton truck, first gear, you know what I mean? The roads were not good. So to go to Roseau, you had to wake up 4 o'clock to leave 4:30, 5 o'clock to reach Roseau from Grand Fond.
Who had that truck? What's his name?
You have Ryan, you have Smokey, you had Gist, you had the truck drivers. They used to call the trucks by the drivers, you know.
What the names of the truck?
Yeah, by the drivers, yeah.
Bedford.
All of them were Bedford trucks. All of them were
So
Bedford
who you
trucks.
come to Roseau? Gist?
No, is anyone you get?
What's the guy who brings
Gist had a 1 ton, Ryan had a 3 ton. You know, they used to take people down Cork, and those people used to take
So
people.
the day that you were told by your mother, right, that you're going to Roseau tomorrow,
You can't sleep for the night.
you're not sleeping.
You can't sleep. So excited. It's so excited you're going to Roseau. You can't sleep.
So give us that story of the morning now. You
Right.
batch the truck, right? You the Lakou road. You batch the truck.
But the truck, you sit on the truck. The truck taking forever, but you know Roseau you go in and you're happy. I can recall, I asked my mother after driving, we were not even halfway yet. I asked my mother a question if we close. And they start laughing at me because they find to themselves, I mean, how can I say, we're not yet even reach halfway. But I find out the truck so long. And when you're on the truck, you see as if the tree is spinning wrong.
Yes. I was about to come to that, you know.
Yeah, the tree spinning wrong. And more you go. And tree spinning wrong, yourself getting adequate, you're dizzy, you're excited, you want to reach. But so it is.
So your mother would have given you another a coat to put on you because in those early mornings, very cold.
No, you used to put that extra shirt, yeah.
Extra shirt?
You don't got that extra shirt. But something you don't, but you need to feel cold, you know, Cecil, to be honest with you.
Roseau you going?
Roseau, you go in.
The excitement making you feel warm.
You can't feel cold, man.
You can't feel cool.
But again, when you come from the country, I mean, you're accustomed walking bareback with a shirt, you know what I mean? So you don't really feel cold. But Pocasset, that used to be cold then. When you pass in Pocasset, that has to be cold. No, Pocasset not cold. But those days, Pocasset used to be cold, man. Yeah, man.
So now, while the truck is driving, you see the trees following you.
Yeah, you see this spinning around following you, man.
So that's the country bookie style. And that's the part, really and truly, that makes people know that you're country bookie, you know. Because you have to give the story about the trees following you.
Yeah.
If you don't say that, you're not at a country bookie.
Yeah.
That means you have not come to Roseau.
Boy.
You have to be able to give the story to say the trees are following
you.
us.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so now, when you reach, you pass through Kenfield, that's where you all pass, or you all pass in
Lakou Park.
No, man, Kenfield, the old road, the Imperial Road.
Imperial Road. Okay. So when you arrive in Kenfield, tell us.
No, Kenfield was not like that. Oh, no, Kenfield was bush, you know.
I know, so tell us what it was.
No, but you don't know. It's only when you reach Roseau, you know you reach Roseau, you know.
Okay.
It's only when you reach Roseau. It's only now they developed Kenfield. Kenfield was not developed.
Bush.
Kenfield was not, it was still bush.
So now you reach Roseau, 7 o'clock, 7:40.
Yeah, it's market.
By the market?
It's market because you have a bag of dash, you know, a bag of something to sell. But that's the money to buy the shoe, you know.
Hold on there. I thought John T, I thought you coming to Roseau. I thought you coming to Roseau. Go into the mic. Go into the mic.
Boy.
Go into the mic.
That story, boy.
I want to hear that story. So your mother have to come down with the bag of
No, you. That's how most people used to do it. And even when I used to go to school, when I started school, Cecil, my mother would send a bag of dashing for me to sell, and I have to buy groceries to send up. There's a list for me of what to buy with the money that I sell the dashing. C'est la vie.
So you come to town first time to buy your pair of shoe for confirmation.
Dashing have to sell.
So that's a Friday you come.
No, Saturday.
Saturday. So you have to sell all of
the above.
No, but it's what they have to sell, you know. It's not me that's selling it, it's my mother.
So are you standing by your mother?
You have to stand up close, you can't go too far. Your mother won't allow you to go too far, you know.
Yes, you'll pay.
Parle au ped.
Tous les minutes, il
But those days, children were disciplined, man. Children were disciplined, children were a bit shy and disciplined.
Stomach big and foot meg?
No, I never know myself to have big stomach and make food, no.
He running every day, man.
No, apart from, I remember I was walking, but...
I would have liked to see a picture of yours by the market standing.
You're standing with your mother. The old market?
But even when I was going to SMA, I told you, I was going to SMA and on a Saturday.
Which of the market? The old one?
Old market, man. Old market. By the ferry terminal there, that market there.
Hold on, the one in 73.
By the post office.
Right. The one by the post
Old
office?
Post
By the Royal Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, man. Matter of fact, right opposite Roberts, Roberts have their thing there. Outside there, all along the road, the people used to sell.
That's correct.
I can recall the road close to go by Domlek. That is a lot of Grand Farm people used to be selling. They're dashing, they can low dashing. So, but those are things you sell in your bag of dashing and that you can buy groceries to go home and say for them.
Yes.
Not now with $500 in your hands, you cannot buy what the one bag of dashing used to buy.
So now your mother finished selling her dashing. Which supermarket you went to? Astafan's?
I don't know if Astafan's. I don't know now, Cecil. All I know for sure, we go buy butter.
Okay.
Where was butter?
Butter next by the market.
By the market on that thing there. That's everybody's go for their shoe.
Where Jupin is right now.
Yeah, you go buy butter and you get your shoe for your first communion.
Mr. Liebert is the boss.
Yes. You get your shoe for your first communion and you're happy.
So hold on, your mother tell you what shoe you must take, or you or your mother deciding what shoe you have to take?
We should can fit you and what they can afford.
So when you saw the shoe, you were happy about the shoe, or you?
But you choose your shoes. If you like it and they can afford it, they pay for it. If they can't afford it, they tell you choose another one.
You're lucky. You're lucky they're making you choose.
Since well, you there, that's why they bring it for. Otherwise, I can recall some occasions when they go in the morning, when you wake up, they take a piece of rope. They take a piece of rope, measure your toe from your toe to your heel, and they put 2 ends. And when you go to the shoe store in town, they get a shoe, measure your rope, and they bring your shoe up. But they don't any problem for your first communion. They actually bringing you down to buy your clothes and your shoes for first communion.
That's big thing.
Big thing.
That's
big thing.
So that's your first trip to Roseau.
Yeah,
so when you get back to Grandfather, what did you say to the boys?
Well, you're just excited now. You're bigger than them. You feel bigger than them and you go Roseau, they never go Roseau.
So you tell them, what you tell them? What did you say to them?
But you just talk it. I mean, I can't recall exactly what I have to be saying or what I said, but I believe I'll be saying things that I see, things that impress me at the time, people I see, what I eat. These are the things that we talking about.
And you say, I see plenty transport in Roseau.
Roseau, I don't know.
Yeah, but remember, Grandfather got you.
No, true.
So if you see 5 in Roseau,
it's
plenty.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm. No, at that time, John T, Grandfather itself, as you said, didn't have quite a lot of vehicles. Would you remember the first person who would have owned not a truck, a car?
Boy, remember? I can't remember, no boy. I don't know exactly who first owned a car, you know. I don't know if it's Conrad Cyrus, but Modest Roseau, they become a Grandfather car. But we had people coming up there with little vehicles, you know, because as a young boy growing up, since we were in primary school, those days a lot of Land Rover Jeeps, because road was bad, and you would be running after Jeep and hopping Jeep, and the driver stopping and chasing you, and you're running, you hopping Jeep, you falling, you're on a cliché. And then when you go home, you cannot tell your mother what's wrong with you, because you can't tell her you're hopping Mr. Prezi Jeep and you fall down. You can't say that. So those vehicles were coming up. It's not that no small vehicles coming up, but who actually own a first car grandfather, I really can't tell you.
No, let me also ask you, John T, when you would have done something bad, would your mother or your adopted father beat you? Would your mother say, Moka SP tell Moon Vini Pubatu? Or she would just beat you?
No, well, the thing is that, Cecil, I want to be honest with you. As a young man, as I tell you, I was the eldest at home at the time because my bigger sister was not living with us. And everybody, all kids after school, 3:30, playing cricket by the school. And I was no difference. I want to play cricket. I'm a child. But I had responsibility. My parents working. I had to put supper on fire. So when they come, they just had to make the gravy. But when I stay playing cricket by the school, and by the time I reach home, you see pot just going on fire, or food just going on fire, or pot washing, it blows. But that did not prevent me from playing cricket tomorrow. And it's more blows. And that would not prevent me the other day because I was a child. And at that time, they just feel I should know my responsibility to go up to put food on fire for when they come. My stepfather used to say, we told like a buzai and a buzai. But so it is. When my mother had to beat us, we used to run. But she didn't used to force with us. We must come and sleep. So when we come in to sleep, we get enough whole day. So that is it. But when the stepfather beating, you cannot run, you have to stay. Well, it was not my father, but it was like my father.
Yes.
It's not to say it's me alone. When he called you, you have to come, you cannot run. But when my mother called, you run.
83 people are looking on. Michael St. Edmunds, Etienne is watching. Mervyn Paul is watching. Norrin Joseph is watching. Good evening to you, Norrin. That's my first teacher in ABC class, Norrin Joseph. Good evening to you, Norrin. Guy Joseph is watching. Kendra Stevenson is watching. And Cheryl Plummer, my good friend, is also watching. So Jonty, tonight I'm sure when I'm over, I'm going to look at all of the people who actually.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
You what kind of food you was cooking? Fig, dashing, you peeling?
But that was the normal food, you know.
So you're cooking early, Jonty. You can cook your food now.
I'm a chef, boy. I can cook.
Because you were cooking very early for your
yes,
parents.
Yes. Matter of fact, to be honest, sometimes, when primary school days, is to get up in the morning when there's no food in the house, go down in the garden, take food, come back, put food on fire, cook, cover the food by the fire, and then go to school, you know. That's for me and my sisters.
So you're cooking food for them?
Yeah, for our lunch.
Wow.
Because when it comes to 12 o'clock, we haven't got time. That is when my mother is also working. It's not me alone, sometimes me and my brother, we have to go down in the garden, get food, come back up, put food on the fire. I was the eldest one. Make your sauce, put that by the fire, go to school. When you come back at 12 o'clock, for lunch ready.
No, Jonty, you know in SME, you have to leave Roseau. So you have to leave Grandfort, come to Roseau now, reside in Roseau.
Yes.
There's no school in Cassibros, there's no school in Grandfort or secondary school for you to go to. So you went to St. Mary's Academy.
Yes, I went to SMA.
So tell us the life now. You said that you lived by your granny?
No, by my aunt.
By your auntie, sorry, that is the mother of Ra.
Yes.
Tell us.
Ra is, yeah. Ra is like my little brother, was a little one. Okay? I lived by my aunt, and every morning, you know, you had to do your chores and go to school. This SMA was strict. Come home, you have your lunch, you do what you have to do, and back to school. You must go night studies. Night studies was for these lower forms from 5 to 7, and higher from 7 to 9. It was compulsory to go to night studies. I used to do that all the time. And my mother every Saturday have to send down food. So every Saturday I have to go to the market to pick up the food to drop it home for the week. Because I didn't used to pay board and lodge. I was living by my aunt. The only thing my mother could afford was send food down every week. So that we used to do. On every Friday, my auntie used to bake. My auntie was a big baker, selling cakes and puddings all over. And boy, I never like a Friday. I never like a Friday. The amount of cake tins you have to wash, man. But you have to do it. We wash our cake tin on Friday. And we put it down Saturday. You have to wash your school shirt and your school pants. You have to wash that Sunday for to dry, so to iron it. So Monday you go to school clean. That is how it used to be. I was involved in a lot of sports at SMA also. I was getting involved in skittles. I was playing basketball, but most time them fellas you allow me to warm the bench, man. In basketball, I was warming the bench all the time.
Country bookie?
Hell yeah, they used to make warm bench all the time. But when it comes to athletics, I used to run a lot SMA. A lot. I was part of the student council representing sports, and those days used to go out to the merchants and asking for donations for prizes. And sometimes I used to choose what I want to win. Because if I get a watch from Frampton and Coca-Cola giving something, I said Coca-Cola, Juicy, those people used to give for relays and them kind of things. But you get a watch, a shirt, you go paperbacks, you get a good book or a dictionary or, you know, those kind of things. So, you know, a pack of pens, a set of pens, all that used to get as prizes. So, I used to run. People hardly used to beat me in cross country. Cross country, people could not beat me in that. My 15 meters and my 800 meters, people could not beat me in that. People could not beat me in that. I used to choose. If I lose, because I want to lose. And I was there to get a lobby. Lobby used to control all the throws. Fellas like Neville Graham, etc. Them fellows who do short distances, but I was middle distance.
800, 1500.
800, 1500
Cross-country.
cross country. That's what I used to do a lot of. And I did very good at SMA, very good. Matter of fact, Cecil, I don't know if you've ever heard in 1972. We had a big
Revolution.
strike.
Revolution, yes.
Yeah,
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
I had to ask you that.
Those days I was on the student body too. And Percival Murray was our head boy. And those days, back power was at the peak. Young people, they in it. And I mean, we were no exceptions. And that brother, what's his name now? He made a mistake. The school SM was run by Canadian brothers then. He made a mistake and he said he kicked or do something. He kicked Crispin Gregoire brother. And that was it. The school went up in uproar. We went in Botanical Gardens, we kept meeting. We decided we're not going to school the following day. And when we come to school, I was there at school, and some people in class, I move around telling the teachers, the children want to leave. I was always a bold-faced person. Leave them go. And for that reason, they had about 10 of us to suspend. And I was just about to do
Your GC.
my GCE. Most of us were just about to do a GCE. They decided going to suspend us. Dr. Brother Estrado, Canadian brother, was the principal of those days. Thanks to Patrick John. Of course, Patrick John decided you're not accepting nobody, everybody going to continue the school. So that's when Brother Germain,
Patrick John.
Francis, Felix.
Okay.
Well, he took over the principal of the school, Felix.
Oh, okay.
And the following year, and then all of us went back to school, and 73 we do our exam. Instead of 72, we do our exam 73. And everything went good from there.
So I want to know, I mean, you just said that you all decided you're going to Gardens, have a meeting. What kind of revolution that you all, or what kind of disturbance you all would have made at the school causing that revolution?
No, the thing is that it was Black Power. And we just decided the white brother could not kick the black boy. And it was an offense. Those days, the brothers and them, when you have big afro, they wanted to cut your hair. Now, those SM was using Sir Jack those days, and they say you have to use Sun Style Sir Jack. You can't use any other Sir Jack. And Sun Style was a church. The sisters used to make the shirts, Sun Style. But we are social center used to do. That's why they used to make the Sun Style. So we believe all that thing was not right. So we stood against that. And there was no violence. We did not burn anybody. We don't fight with anybody. We just stay away from school.
Were you able to influence the Dominican Grammar School at that time?
Well, Dominican Grammar School, not on the revolution though, but it's after us, Dominican Grammar School started using Sir Jack also. SMA was first. And it was a movement in the region, not only Dominican, in the Caribbean. It was the whole Black Power thing. And we had our mentors around too. And up to today, I could say he was my mentor all through. And
Who was that?
well, Joey Peltier, Rosie Douglas, these sellers were my mentor.
Revere.
No, Parivere was there, but not too much of my mentor.
Aureus Jolly.
All of them were part of the movement, but too much of my mentor. The thing is that I knew when I went to, well, we're not yet reached there, but when I went to study Guyana, I get very close to Joey. Because Joey was lecturing at SMA. Then the brothers threw him out. So he went to UG to lecture. So when I was going to study Guyana, Ron Green gave me his number. I get in contact with him, and his home became my home. So that's why I said he's my mentor. Particularly everything we do a lot of things, following them, Andy Lev, Walter Rodney, Clyde Thomas, those strong guys.
You met Walter in Ghana?
Yeah, I know Walter. Yeah.
What kind of guy was he?
What kind of guy? He was just a straight, conscious person who was looking for rights of black people and rights of. That's what it was at the time, you know. And we had the Chedji Jigan and Burnham having their own war among themselves. We had the other racial thing with Indians and the Negroes. The Indians control the money, but Negroes control the military. So that is it. So
then you sat your GCE. You then went to the University of Guyana.
No, when I did my subject, when I finished school, I started working at Hillsborough Agricultural Station. My first job I ever had. I should say I was good at sciences, very good at sciences, and I wanted to do medicine. But I wanted to specialize in gynecology. But because of my financial status, I could not think of it. So I got a job in agriculture. But because the pay was so small there, during my vacation, but I never told you all, I started working at the age of 13 to help my grandmother to send me to school. Every summer, I would go and work on Rosalie estate, counting coconuts, measuring tasks for women, tallying bananas, etc., etc. That's what I used to do for every holiday to get money so that I could get a new shirt and a new pants for the beginning of the school year. So I started working very, very early. But when I left school, I went into agriculture. During Christmas, I also worked at Springfield Trading, and they were selling Nissan trucks, etc., in the spare parts department. So I left agriculture because they called me back at Nissan to work. That's after I left school, right? But the manager there again, I was a little black boy from the country. They did not really respect me. My boss at the time, for no other reason, they gave me 6 months probation. And by the time that was coming to an end, he gave me all kind of excuses, and he put Gavin Bertrand, who was a little bourgeois boy, in my position. The Bertrands in town. So that's it. So I decided I leave that. I'm going to do sailing. I decided I want to do navigation. I want to sail. I was influenced by the fella that was doing shipping with Whitchurch. We were living in the same house. He was downstairs, and I was going on by him, talking to him. And when the captains come, they always by him with their drinks, drinking, talking. So that influenced me a bit. I decided I want to do that, to do navigation, to go and sail. So I went on a small boat, and I was moving from Barbados to Puerto Rico. And I can recall one Sunday we came to Dominica, and I went up country to see my parents, and Conrad Cyrus was going up for the election, and then he told me he wanted me to say something on his behalf. And for the first time I went on a political platform talking, and I spoke. By the time I finished, he told me if I like what I'm doing. I told him the rip-off, because we were working by trips. You load in Barbados, but when you reach Dominica, you offload, you take in load. When you reach Antigua, you offload in, you take in load. By the time you reach Puerto Rico, all the load you take in there has to be extra, but I used to tell the captain straight. Because my idea was to collect as much money as possible to go and study. I wanted to go and study navigation, so I was trying to save my money. And to me, to do all this extra work, and I was not getting paid for it. So I went to the captain. So he did not like that at all, because you feel I would influence the other people, because the other fellows all interested in working, drinking, and every pot have a different girlfriend. I was not in that. So we got problems. So after speaking on Cyrus' platform, he told me if I was interested in a job, he can get something for me. So I told the captain, I'm staying to do something for my parents. When they're passing back from Puerto Rico, I'll hop. But by then, Conrad Cyrus spoke to Colin Booley, and they sent me wet area. And I went wet area working as a semi-skilled plant propagator. I just did that. I went there as a foreman, supervisor, field supervisor at wet area. Later, I was promoted to the foreman, and then I went to study Guyana.
And you majored what in Guyana?
I did animal health and veterinary public health.
In Guyana?
In Guyana, that's what I did. Matter of fact, the year before, I was supposed to go to Jamaica to do pure agriculture. But the government at the time decided they would not send anybody. So nobody got that CEDA scholarship. But in the following year, when they told me about Guyana, I told my auntie about it. She told me, I had to go last year. I didn't get the opportunity. I get it this time. Take it. So I went to Guyana and I did this.
And when you were through with Guyana, you came back home?
Yeah, I came back home.
And you worked where?
With the government Ministry of Agriculture as an animal health officer. Those days we had a Canadian as our chief vet. We worked very well. I graduated 78, 79, Hurricane David came. And Hurricane David, at the time, I should let you know, by the time I started going to school in town, practically everything that was happening in Grand Falls was happening around me. I was doing a lot of things. I was involved in everything, practically everything. And when Hurricane David came, I was organizing food, getting food for the people, everything. And Sev told me about the scholarship to Cuba. And so on a piece of paper, cardboard in the storeroom, food place, I wrote, and I gave it to Sev. And Rosie and them, they gave me a scholarship, but they did not give Sev. Because I always see Sev as the politician, not me. I was more or less the worker. I used to work a lot. I organized a lot.
And that is Sever Mackenzie, right?
Sever Mackenzie.
You call him Sev, but Sever Mackenzie.
Sever Mackenzie.
Right.
I see him more like the politician. You're more, than I. But I was the worker. I was the ground man doing all the work. So they kept Sev because that same following year, Sev went up for election, 80. Sev went up for election alliance.
Sev, and he was not in Cuba yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. Uh-huh. It's afterwards, Sev went to Cuba.
So you went to Cuba before Sev?
Yes, I was in the first group of 11. First group of 11.
Rosie sent?
Yes. Well, it's through Rosie, but it was not Rosie really. Non-aligned. It was non-aligned. Yeah, but Rosie organized it. It's Rosie organized everything.
Do you remember those?
Because, yeah, man. 11 of us. Max Andrews, Philip Joseph, Panman Albert Bellot, Charles Pierre, Julian Privot, Dunstan Charles, Alcott Hamlet, Philip Joseph, Lloyd Pascal, John Toussaint. I don't know if I forgot anybody.
Okay. So the 11 of you are left for Cuba.
Yeah.
Do not know, or let's put it that way, you all are going to the unknown.
It was unknown.
Right. Because you would have heard quite a lot
of propaganda.
Of propaganda about Cuba. So it was a big risk. Is that correct to say?
Well, you could call it, those days we were educated. We knew what we were doing. It was not like the students of today. For politics or contacts, they go and study. Their parents send them. But those days we were very conscious. As I tell you, the Black Power movement was on. We knew everything. There were study groups. I could tell you, Cecil, welcome to West Indian history. I passed that in 4th form, I passed West Indian history in 4th form. But you could do GC in 4th form. Because you have to study. When you want to talk about slave and you want to talk about this and you want to talk about the press, you have to study. You have to know it. So we used to actually study these things and understand what's going on. So when we went to Cuba, we were very conscious of what we were going to.
Let me ask you a question. Going to Cuba, 11 of all you, wouldn't they, people see you all as revolutionary come back to bring communism to Dominica, overthrow government?
Well, we went through a lot. Matter of fact, while we were studying Cuba, Eugenia Charles government took over power. Because it was interim government, then Eugenia Charles took over. And their plan was to bring us back home. But we made up our minds. We are not going back home because the opportunity we get now to study, if we go back home, we will not get it because we don't have the money to send ourselves to school. So we decided we're going to stay. Regardless what it costs, but Eugenia Charles never really sent us home and never called us back home, to be honest. But when we came back on vacation, every time we would come on vacation, you would find CID fellows at the airport waiting on us. And they would search every shirt, every pants. I can recall Charles Pierre's father used to be chief of police then. And Charles Pierre had a basketball for his son. That was so. The police take that chicky, tell Charles Pierre, what do you have inside of this? Charles Pierre, take a knife and open it and you'll see. You know, we went through a lot. And even after we graduated, besides two of us got jobs. I was appointed because I studied in Ghana before, and Philip Joseph was a teacher appointed at Portsmouth Secondary. So two of us got job and nobody else got work. And not to say we got job because of our qualification, I went back as an animal health assistant with my vet degree. I was being paid as an animal health assistant with a vet degree. Philip Joseph was a junior teacher, and nobody else got job. Most of the fellows left. They did all kind of other stuff. Charles Pierre and Panman, they go planting, they do. But that's the experience we had. Right now, everything is in place for everybody. People who don't know nothing about Cuba, they would call you all kind of name, all kind of communists and this, and we're going to plant cane, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And boy, Cuba was so clean, super clean. When the Cubans do military service, every week we have a day off, as foreigners. And there were students from Africa, from Palestine, from Vietnam, from all about. The students from all over, Mongolia, studying together with us. You know what I mean? That's kind of...
The first person that you had to convince was your parents. What did they say to you when you decided that you're going to go to Cuba?
My mother trusted me. My mother trusted me. Seth's mother trusted him. And them two ladies, they were always together, more or less. And my mother, when they tried to tell my mother things, my mother would answer them back. Defend us. They would defend us. But talking to my mother afterwards, she told me she was saying it because she had to tell them what she had to tell them. But she was afraid. No, she would defend. She would defend us. But she was afraid because you don't know what to say. And if it's true, if her son caught in cane and if her con with gun and you know what I mean? And to say, I know nothing about gun, man. Nothing about gun. The only thing you would do is, during your supper time, you will do a voluntary work. If it's sweet Irish potato, we have to go and harvest. We go and harvest our Irish potato. And after we finish harvest our Irish potato, they would give us a week on Varadero. We go on vacation, you understand what I mean? That's it.
So when you took that flight, that Liat flight to Barbados, that's where you took your Cubana, right? From Barbados.
Yes.
And you boarded that Cubana to Havana. On arrival in Havana, what was the first expression?
Well, it was a shock, because to come out of Dominica and to go to Cuba is completely different. You see houses and houses and people and people and people and people. You come from a very small population, your people are scattered. I meet in group of people. The language, I did French at school. I did French at SMA. And there I was in a Spanish country, and I knew very, very little Spanish. So I knew nothing about Spanish, man. So I had to start from scratch. My colleagues, most of them did Spanish at school, secondary school, but I was not that fortunate to do Spanish. But we had to do preparatory school to prepare us for university. And everything was in Spanish. As I said, there are people from different nations, different languages. So the common language is Spanish. So you're forced to speak Spanish. You had to speak Spanish. You speak broken Spanish, but you had to speak Spanish. Most of us sometimes we would work with our dictionary to translate. When people tell us a word, you look for it in a dictionary for you to know what you're dealing with. But they had a method of teaching of Spanish. Within 9 months, we were good enough to go to university because all the books were in Spanish, all our textbooks Spanish. And a lot of our exams were all exams. You had to speak Spanish. So
No, you in Dominica and people speaking those days in the 70s growing up, going to St. Mary's Academy, you would have heard of the embargo placed on Cuba. So you'd have heard quite a lot about Cuba. When you arrived in Cuba, what was your first observation to tell yourself that you made the right choice?
Cecil, when we were Cuba, Cuba was nice. Cuba was nice. Life was nice. You could take a bus anywhere you want to go. You jump on the bus, nobody asking you for money. You had to put a 5 cents in a tin on the bus, and you sit on the bus. When you're rich, you hop off the bus, you go and do what you're doing. When you come back, you put another 5 cents. 5 cents, Cecil, in the bus, and you go where you're going. If you change in free buses, you have to put 5 cents. Based on where you're going.
The culture of the various communities or the various people from various countries, how were you able to deal with these people with the various cultures? Food, the traditionals, music, dressing. How were you able to deal with these people? And you're in the same class with them?
Well, the food, everybody was eating in the same comedor. The Cubans were preparing food. Every food was free. All of us trying to speak Spanish, all of us trying to speak Spanish to each other. When we finish class, probably 1 or 2 people would mix, but you find our group would be more together. Or the Caribbean group, because it was not only Dominica, we had Grenadians there with us, Jamaicans there too. So Caribbean people would more or less be together at all times. So it was after that St. Vincent came, St. Lucia came. But it was more or less Dominica, Jamaica, and Grenada.
No, Fidel Castro, you would have arrived in Cuba and Fidel Castro would have been at his height in terms of popularity with the people of Cuba. What was your impression about Fidel even before you left?
No, man, we regarded Fidel highly before we left. That is why we were very, very, very conscious. When we left, as I told you, we knew a lot about Fidel. We read a lot about Fidel. We read a lot about Cuba. We knew about Cuba. We knew what we were going to do. We knew what we wanted. So it was no surprise to us when we reached. And Cuba was nice those days, very, very nice. You could get anything you want. I can recall, you go in, you want it rabbit, for example. If you want it rabbit, you go to a restaurant where they sell rabbit meat. You got the conejito, rabbits. And you pay $3.25, you get a rabbit dish. You get your whole rabbit meal, for $3.25, $3.25. You go for Copelia for ice cream, you'll get 7 scoops, probably just for $1.25. Things were nice those days. When I was in Cuba, things was nice. And everything was there. Again, the Soviet Union was at its peak too. The Soviet Union was strong, giving Cuba the kind of backup that Cuba could survive on. Apart from the embargo was not having an impact on Cuba those days. It's afterwards, with the falling of the Soviet Union, the breaking up of the Soviet Union, things start getting difficult on Cuba. But when Cuba, when they give in malt, you go in, if you're getting a big jug of malt for 5 cents. Go in and there's a big jug, 5 cents. So things was cheap. We were getting 60 peso for the month from the government of Cuba. And you could survive on 60 peso. Apart from you getting your meals, your housing, everything, you were getting 60 peso from Cuba a month. And you could survive with that. You hear the prices I tell you to move on bus 5 cents. You can get a meal for free, $4 or $5. That is on a weekend, because you get in your meals at school during school days, and you still have your meal at school. But we were Isca, about a 45 minutes drive. So when you're downtown, you're within town. They used to give us a bus on a Saturday at 2 to return at 7. So we go down, have and do what we're doing and so on. At 11 o'clock, we have to take the bus again to come back home.
No, let me ask you, how did you see the yard, the Lakou, prepare you for a Cuba?
Well, the thing is, again, as I tell you, I'll repeat that, because we were so conscious, we knew what to expect. We went there with the intention to do what we have to do, to study. But of fact, we were tightly bonded, the whole group, tightly bonded, especially after the second group came, when Mackenzie and them came, we were looking after each other. There was the Dominica Association, Student Guild, yeah? Where we used to have Dominic activities. If I tell you I used to dance ballet and quadrille in Cuba, you might not believe I did that. Because I was in People Action Theatre in Dominica. I did a lot of streak and those plays I was involved in them.
Panman also, right?
Panman and Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
Yeah. Donny was there for a short time, but and Sobers was there a short time too. Because Sobers also studied Cuba. He did not stay too long. But I spent a good time there. Mackenzie spent a good time with Alvin Bully in this. So, matter of fact, we did Strick in Cuba. Mackenzie directed it. We did Strick in Cuba. It was well received. So we did a lot of stuff in Cuba. We stood for each other. We were interested in each other. If we realize you're not doing too good in something, we try to help. If we realize you're misbehaving or you're not doing your work, we used to put you straight. And even telling you, if at all you're not buck up, you're going back home. So you had to buck up. We were like a brother. We were like a unit, looking after each other's interests in Cuba. The Dominican, the first and second group, that's how we operated.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet Fidel?
But came close to Fidel once. It probably the very first year. We were in the dorm. All of us in our room. We just hear, Fidel outside. We see fellows start flying out of the room. See, Maurice Bishop and Fidel came there to check the students. As I told you, Green Indians were with us. And Maurice Bishop came to check the students, and Fidel was with him. But that's the closest I come to Fidel. But when they have all these things, you go and listen to Fidel, you see Fidel, but from a distance. But that night, in particular, my first year, we came very, very close to Fidel. Very, very close to him.
How
we could touch him.
How did he look?
Well, Fidel was much younger, much stronger.
Was he green?
Of course, yeah, his army. He was green. Yep.
Every year, would you all have gone as your group to the Revolutionary Square?
Every year. Every year we would go. Everything Cuba have, we try to participate in it. Every solidarity, we would participate in it. So we get involved. And even when the people, when a mass of people, how many million people, a lot of people went to Mariel to move to United States. We went when they had the big demonstration for the people, against the people who leave Cuba and go to the embassy. We were there. Most of us went there. Those of us in Havana, because not all of us were in Havana. There were some people in Santa Clara. There were some people in Pinar del Rio. But most of us in Havana participate in those activities.
And what it was like to be in Revolutionary Square?
But when you just a lot of people, and everybody listening attentively to Fidel, and Fidel's speech never an hour, always more than an hour, and people just screaming, "Que viva, viva!" And it was so emotional most times. You find yourself part of it. A whole crowd was screaming and burning, and you find yourself being very emotional and being part of it. It become part of your DNA.
Now, what did you study while in Cuba?
I was sent to do, again, I can remember earlier on I told you I wanted to do medicine from SMF, but I was sent to do medicine in Cuba. But because I did my studies in Guyana, my vet assistant, so I told them I don't want to do medicine, I want to do veterinary medicine. So I changed to veterinary medicine in Cuba. I did a lot of work. I did very good. Very good. Matter of fact, I was student helper in 3 different subjects. As I said, a lot of exams were oral, and I never did Spanish before. Cuba, what they do, they encourage you to study in groups. So knowing that I was weak in Spanish, I would make sure I stay late at nights and study. So by the time I'm ready for my group the next morning, I go for the work already, so I can try to explain to them the whole paragraph of what we're dealing with. So at the same time, I get into practice the question or the information. So I practice to talk. So most times when we had our exams, I just stay and write. Some people, when you go do the oral exam, everybody not going at a time. They'll take probably 8 people or 5 people at a time. First 5 and after that. So when they give me my paper, most times, my slip with 3 questions on it. I think I watch it, I just write that down. And by the time they finish distribute the papers, I'm ready. Then I would go and talk. Because I'm going to talk anyway. I don't have to write anything. It's either you know I don't know. So I would just go and talk. And most times I would even get a very good mark. And they respected me a lot. I was student helper in 3 different subjects. So I did very good in Cuba.
During that period while you're in Cuba, the whole process of apartheid was alive in South Africa. How much as a student body of the Caribbean that you all got yourselves involved? I'm only asking this based on all of the preparation that you would have made in Dominica in your various areas, especially in the yard. You're also involved in the student body in SME. So I'm trying to find out how much involvement that people like yourself, Lloyd Pascal, Charles, Panman, would have, Philip Joseph, how much involvement that you all would have had in the whole dynamism of getting apartheid to be changed or to be destroyed, not changed, but to be destroyed in South Africa. How much of that
we were not, to be honest, we were not really vocal, keeping no meetings or anything. If there's a meeting and people want to attend, they would attend and listen, and we'll have a little discussion, indoor discussion. But to do any kind of militancy, we never did any militancy about concerning apartheid while we were studying in Cuba.
So it's clear that the Cuban government was not interested for students to become
revolutionaries.
Was it?
Revolutionaries.
No, revolutionary, yes. Revolutionary is change.
Or military.
Militant, yeah, because revolution is change. Move away from the original.
Mm-hmm.
Move away from what is existing.
Mm-hmm.
Change. Revolution is change. So we were. And that's what we really wanted to do. We wanted to come, educate ourselves, to go back home.
Okay.
And to create that change, to create that revolution at home. Not with guns, not with arms, not with cutlass, but with knowledge. Knowledge is the biggest weapon somebody can have. And that's what we decided to use to change our dynamics. Even now, if you look at our hospital, 90% of the doctors at the hospital, Cuban trained or Cubans. That's what we're talking about.
Changing. Dynamism of thinking and creating new opportunities.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But not revolution through arms.
No,
struggle.
man, it's not fighting. Who are we going to kill? Our brothers and sisters? No, we're not interested in that. It's our country we want to see move forward, our country we want to develop, our country we want to assist to move forward.
When you all return, you said earlier on that you all returned and it wasn't a very good welcome. But you all had to go through the system and go through the grinds. Knowing what you all would have gone through and seeing what it is today, what caution would you like to give to our students who are studying now?
Well, the thing is that, Cecil, we had it real rough. People couldn't get a job. Most people had to move away. Most people had to migrate, looking for survival. People who got job, they were not paid based on their qualifications. Matter of fact, I will tell you, in my case, I was an animal health assistant before leaving. When I came back, I was an animal health assistant by pay, but by profession, I was a vet by qualification. So my bosses at the time decided to give me a raise, so they made me agricultural officer, if a few dollars more. So I was moved a position, an establishment as an agricultural officer, so to get a little bit more money. But at the same time, I'm saying that, Cecil, I was Eugenia Charles vet, personal vet, and I was Frank Barron, personal vet. And
What you mean by that?
I mean, if they have any problem with the animals, is Dr. Toussaint. So what really happened is Frank Barron and I became so close. Frank Barron had his dog. He was ambassador. He has so many ambassadors, as you know. He bought a dog from England, and the dog had a big problem in the neck. And this thing was almost dead. And I did surgery, and this thing survived. And from that day on, I was never enough for Frank Barron. And Eugenia Charles, I've been dealing with them all the time. So when Mike Douglas, I think, asked in Parliament about us, the Cuban grads, Eugenia Charles said she had a scholarship for one of them. And she was referring to me. She had a scholarship for me. But by the time she told the people in agriculture to organize somebody to go to Texas A&M, because she went to give a speech at Texas A&M, and they offered her scholarship, and she decided to give me the scholarship. When they told Mr. Harris to organize for me to go and do this, do the studies, all they wanted is to get rid of that Cuban thing to get some American thing. But Mr. Harris actually put an entire vet syllabus for me to go to Texas A&M. And the people at Texas A&M said they could not handle this. So at the same time, Colin McIntyre, my colleague, he was studying at Tuskegee. So I told Colin my situation, we were real partners. So he sent a form for me. And I filled the form, and I got accepted at Tuskegee. So I went to Eugenia Charles and I told her, look, I got accepted at Tuskegee because what she tried for me at Texas A&M, it did not get through because Mr. Harris and them are asking for too much. So she told me, okay, she'll see how she can help me. But by the time I left office, I went to Frank Barron. I told Frank Barron the situation, and he told me, go to Lambert Lewis. He was the chairperson of the bank, National Bank. And because he was the Frank Barron was in charge of the bank, he was the chairman of the bank, and Lambert Lewis was the manager. So I went there, and Frank Barron told Lambert Lewis, let me have what I want. So I decided to ask them for a loan for the first term because the impression I had was if you go to America, you can study and work. So I say, as soon as I reach, I can look for a job. But when I reach, it was not this, it was not like this. But again, if you are serious about what you're doing, I went there, I did my work. By the first semester, Frank Barron got a scholarship for me at OAS. He was trying to get 2 scholarships, one for me and one for Charles Maynard's son. But he could get only one, and he gave it to me. And Charles Maynard was a minister. He gave it to me. And I continued studying there with that scholarship. But I was attached to my department too. My department did not want me to leave. My department was using me at Tuskegee, Alabama. I was still helping, giving practical classes. And I was doing a lot of work. I did a lot of dynamic modeling, post-dynamic and static modeling, a lot of risk assessment. I did a lot of that up there. So much so, by the time I finished study, Tuskegee University gave me a scholarship to do a PhD. I started the PhD, but by then, Dr. Christian, Wordsworth Christian, he was the chief vet then, he died. And Colin was doing his first degree DVM, and I was doing my master's. But by then, Errol Harris and them, all they were talking about is Dr. McIntyre is coming back. Dr. McIntyre is coming back. They forgot Dr. Toussaint was studying. You see what I mean? So when I got the information, I came down to find out exactly what's going on, because my friends on the Ministry of Agriculture tell me what's going on. I told my professor I want to go down to check the situation. So because I will be registering late, he told the dean, he wrote a letter to the dean saying I'll be late because I collecting information for my thesis. But I just wanted to know the situation. And I spoke to Eliud Williams when I reached. He was the PS. We had a nice conversation, but at the end of the day, he told me, Dr. Toussaint, watch, if you're not back by the 31st of May, whatever happened to you, I'm not responsible. When I came back, he was not there. I met Felix Gregoire. Thanks to Felix Gregoire. If it was not Felix Gregoire, I would not have gotten a position. I had serious opposition and serious fight and serious fight and serious fight and serious fight. And they didn't want to give me the position because I'm John Toussaint from Grand Fond. They say they wanted...
Studied in Cuba.
Studied in Cuba. But I had my American degree then. But they wanted to give it to Colin. Gregoire, Felix Gregoire told them, stop forming the phone, recommend Dr. Toussaint for the position. And Mr. Harris at the time said, okay. They recommended me for the position. But at the same time, he said, Dr. McIntyre is vet, I'm vet officer. Dr. McIntyre is vet field officer. And Ruth Allport was livestock officer. And all of us report to him as the livestock development coordinator. So that's what I went through. Next thing he said, we can have 2 vets and both of them in town. One have to go down Portsmouth. I said, cool. You, Mr. Harris, you in charge. Decide what you want to do. He tell me, okay, Dr. Toussaint, you have to go Portsmouth. And Dr. McIntyre will stay in town. I say, I have no problem with that, sir. But I'll be in town in my office every morning because I am the vet officer of the country and I have to sign permits for all merchants to bring in meat or all animals that come in the country. The only person that can do that, not the Prime Minister, is the chief vet. According to the law of Dominica, is the chief vet that is authorized for all livestock and livestock products to come into the country. So when I told him that, he could not beat me. So he just accept. That's how it is. It ended up nobody go Portsmouth. Everybody stayed in town. That's how it is. I did not tell him I'm not going. I tell him, cool, I'll go. If you tell me go, I'll go. You're my boss. But I'll be in my office every morning to sign my permits for the merchants to bring in the meat, or if the animal come into the country or live in the place, I have to be there to authorize it. That's my position according to the law. So he had no other choice. Nobody went to Portsmouth.
And yourself and Collins remain great friends?
No, Colin and I always been good friends because sometimes I say, Colin, boy, we spoke, because we were, matter of fact, I should tell you, when Colin sent a form for me, Colin and I stayed in the very same room at Tuskegee. And after Colin, we separated. The room was big. We were living in a big house. We separated the room in two. We were cool and nice and nice and nice. And when I was leaving, we drove. Because I was working in my department and I had the scholarship, I collected some money so I could buy some stuff while studying. So Colin, we took a U-Haul and we drove to Florida to ship my stuff. Colin was driving, 12 of us going. So we were always together. But before we left for States, we did a lot of things together. Colin and I, we did a lot together. We were each other's keeper, to be honest. And we remain good friends up till today.
You said earlier on that you felt that Sev was the politician and not you.
Yeah.
You became a minister of government. You became a politician in the process. You gave your name, or you placed your name in the hat for the people of Grand Forks, like that of Sev. Tell us about it.
When I came back, as I told you, I was involved in everything in Grand Forks. I managed football. I was in Scout. I was in matter of fact, I managed the team. I took it from second division, from preschool, from primary school. I brought it to first division. Then I find myself as first vice president of Dominican Football Association under Patrick John. I was in credit union as first vice president of the Grand Forks Credit Union. I find myself on the Credit Union League because of that. I was involved in everything. The life of Grand Forks was around me. When I came from Cuba, I organized a group, OGFA, Organization for the Further Development of Grand Forks. And every month you're having some different activities. And money collected, young people would go out. We gave 2 scholarships. We gave Leandra Coffey, the singer, she died, so rest in peace. We gave a scholarship to go to school. And Nadia, we gave Nadia also a scholarship. That's OGFA. But when I went to study in States, it died because nobody continued. You see, so I was involved in everything. So they find I was a good candidate. I was not interested in politics, to be honest. I was just the person I am. I had several meetings. Pierre and them tried to call me in, but I was not interested. With Don Christopher, we had a meeting at his home of Wall House. But after I decided them call election, I just find to myself, it's not fair. We were not accustomed to having an election within a month. And I said to myself, I have my profession. By then I had a small business. I said, I'm going to go. And if I don't make it, I can run my profession, run my small business. And I just make up my mind. I had a campaign for only 2 weeks in Cecil because it's the month after the cordial election, the Sunday, we had a meeting by Ambrose, and that's when I make up my mind. By the time I clear my desk as chief vet and leave the government place, a week plus had gone. So I just had about 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a few days to campaign. And if another 30-something more votes, I wouldn't go through them. And I never got another opportunity
so
to run.
you were going to contest against your former principal?
I did contest against her. Matter of fact, everything Gertrude was doing as the minister and para-rep, she was getting me involved. She was sponsoring the football team, and it meant I was managing everything for her.
So even after she defeated you, you all still worked well together?
Yeah, man. But when I went to Parliament, I praised her. I can't remember the first thing in Parliament, I praised her. If you go to Hansard, I praised her. She was a nice person. She was my teacher. She was my former. She formed me. She made me more responsible. People like that, you don't forget them. Politics is one thing. For politics, it's one time. Every 5 years, I have politics,
During your campaign, I know a lot of the things that you would have said would have been from that of the Lakou. What was your campaign like? What was your message that you were giving people, John T., in reference to you wanting to represent these people? What was your message that you were giving them so that they could have that confidence in you?
Well, I was always a leader in the community. They knew that. And they respected me for who I was. I was helpful, always giving, always involved. I shared everything that I had. And when I decided to go up, they decided to support me. But again, politics, there are some hard cause. There are some people told me, John, moi mousav, me we parti akamote pour mo pass a football. You know, this is some people, they will express that thing to me. When they tell me so me mo un beau football moi c'est moi qui ça aide ou. But it's life that's like that. The thing is, I told them we have to make our place better, and I told them about the Lake Road. That was my key thing. I told them Dominica is moving into a tourist economic thing, so we have to get Grand Fond involved. I told them when people leave Roseau, they go to the freshwater lake, Trafalgar for freshwater lake. They might want to go to Emerald Pool. Instead of coming back to Roseau, they should just come down through Grand Fond, so Grand Fond people can survive. You can have your little trip by the road, you can do your little stuff to catch a tourist dollar too, and they move to Emerald Pool and then back to Roseau, instead of going back to Roseau and coming down to Emerald Pool. I got some opposition for that, but Rosie did not survive. And that's the only reason why he did not come through, because Rosie was ready to work with me. And we were talking, Cecil, you asked me a question earlier on. It was Rosie, when Rosie called me in my mother's kitchen. And Rosie started talking to my mother. And Rosie there, I knew Rosie a long time. My mother knew about Rosie because I studied Cuba a long time. Talking to my mother in the kitchen and so on, and they like Rosie. So my mother could not say no. So I had no other choice just to jump on the boat because of Rosie. Before the meeting I appeared on them, they never convinced me. But Rosie, when he came, I had no other choice. And when Edison and them called the election, they just put the ice on the cake for me.
Now, let me just find out from you. When the Prime Minister then called you to say, John T, I'm going to make you a minister, Senator Minister, what was your first expression? What was your first words to the Prime Minister? Yes, no?
Yeah, yes. Now, the thing is that after the 2000 election, Rosie took time before he put his cabinet together. So I said, you would know that. And some people, they put a cabinet together for Rosie. I hope you can remember that. And I was far from that. So when Rosie told me he's going to make me Minister of Health, what I think, I tell Rosie, I'm a professional. I can work anywhere. Matter of fact, what I'm doing is health. I specialize in epidemiology. Is epidemiology study of health in population. And I can work with animals, I can work with humans, because epidemiology, health in population. So I feel I can do a good job and so on. So I accepted it willfully and took the challenge. I like challenges, I took the challenge.
And how did you now feel that in terms of your contribution as Minister of Health, how did you feel that you contributed sufficient to warrant you in the history of Dominica's books saying that your Minister of Health accomplished A, B, C, D, F, G?
I did not stay very long, as you know, Cecil. After Rosie died, things was changing around, and we had to get a new AG. And I said to myself, remember those days we were linked with freedom, right? I said to myself, I have my profession, I have a business, and Lloydie does not have anything. And Lloyd is Minister of Agriculture, I'm an agriculturist. So I can give up, Lloydie remain, and I work with Lloydie. So that's how I thought. I went, I spoke to Pierre about it. I tell him I'm going to do it immediately. We know don't do it immediate. Then I went to Tony. Tony asked the fans. And then he put a letter together. and I put it to Piero. And people cannot understand how someone become minister. I would just turn it down. Matter of fact, I went to check my colleague in St. Kitts and Douglas, Prime Minister, when he introduced me to that. Oh, Mr. that do that? If you could understand you're a minister and you're turning it down. But I did it for the best of the country and for my party because I didn't want no problems. I didn't want problems. I feel to myself, I can stand, I can work with Lloydie. Lloydie can be minister and I work with him. And I'm my business. So I looked at it that way. But it did not really come out the way I wanted it. Because at the end, Afi get Piero to get rid of Lloydie too. So both Lloydie and I, we were off. And I did not like that. But by then I was out already. I could not come back in. So I just accept it as is.
Would you still play a part, or play a role in wanting to represent people of Grand Fort?
But I always represented people from Grand Fort. Everywhere I go, I defend Grand Fort. I protect Grand Fort. I talk on behalf of Grand Fort. That is my village. That's my place. So that's where I am. That's my roots. I'll always do that. But whether I want to go back into politics, that would be a big question. I don't think so.
Let me ask you a question.
I don't think so.
Let me follow up a question. You spoke about that road. Are you talking about the Shimeleta?
Shimeleta, yes.
Is that road, has it been done? Is it feasible as we speak?
Never done. Never done.
But is it feasible? Can it
But
be done?
one other young boy, I know the Willis Jeeps, we used to pass that road there and come through Grand Fort, But after Hurricane David, landslide came down in the road block. But I think the road can open. The road already from Grand Fort is about almost halfway, Because that's where Grand Fort water system is. The water dam is right up there. All right, now from that same dam, they're going to, from a different dam, they want to give Rosalie and Mount John. So I believe that road can be built.
No, you're a businessman. Oh, you're live. So, yes. Well, let's just take a little break. for Dr. Toussaint and myself and Hartley can continue the conversation. Yes, Hartley. Good discuss with Dr. John
very
Toussaint.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just about to ask him about business.
Yeah.
Because you know that he's involved in business. So when he comes back,
we'll take that stage.
I'll take that stint. How do you find so far the discussion?
I find it interesting. It's quite revealing for a man to give up a position of a Minister of Health for another colleague in agriculture. I mean, it's not quite often that you hear that. But as you said, his heart is with his people, which is really, really very dynamic in terms of what politics is. Politics is about people. And to see that he's very committed to his community, that's very good. But I find it very interesting that road from Grand Fort through the lake, which was the road of many people long ago, into Loda, coming down into Roseau, he's saying that some of the road has already reached in a particular direction.
Just to tell you quickly that we have 102 people actually looking on. Maria Seja said that she's looking. Michael Roy said that he's watching. Crispin Piper said that he's watching. Brent Samuel said that he's watching. Reginald Winston is watching. Solomon Pascal is watching. Anthony Mead, Tony, good evening to you, is watching. Cleo Bellot is watching. Ra Peters is watching. Marisol Maynard is watching. David Montana is watching. Diana Libla is watching. Marja Stedman is watching. Karim is watching. Maxi P. Benjamin is watching. And Cyril Castor is also watching. A good program tonight. We're hearing John T giving us quite a lot of information.
But what I find interesting, why can't we have that in politics? I mean, he was defeated by his former principal, But as you said, they still work in harmony. Regardless, she was in United Workers' Party, in the Labour Party, the dynamism.
Then become minister and then give her praise.
Give her praise. Don't you find that is the culture we need? Why can't we just develop that culture?
That has been the culture in the past. As to the rational, this has changed. People become very vicious on each other. People have lost trust with each other. People don't respect anymore. People don't respect people anymore. And by virtue of these characteristics, these negative characteristics, doesn't allow people to even wanting to work together.
I believe that a person can disagree with you. I mean, politics, everybody don't have to agree. There can be a variance of opinion, but at least in the national interest, you have because there are different routes to development.
That's correct.
I mean, your route to development may not be my route, but in terms of the
national,
but at the end of the day, we want to get to a particular point for the country. So I find what he said in terms of the dynamism, in terms of the collaboration that he had with his former principal and the interests of his community.
And that's
dynamic.
That's important, that we, and that's from the old school. So you can sense that John T is from the old school of the politicians. John T has found himself as a socialist, and most times socialism doesn't give you space to hate each other. It's camaraderie. That's what socialism is all about.
But he made a very important point. I mean, Eugenia didn't give them, really work, but then he, in his own profession, and Frank Barron being a top man in the Freedom Party, he has a problem with his dog. John demonstrates to him that what I did was real medicine. I can operate on your dog. The dog gets well. He becomes a friend of Barron. Eugenia must have been told by him about the professionalism of the vet.
Basically, what you're saying that we should try to see those things. We should strive in getting those things again back.
Right. That I mean, and she gives him a scholarship. He further enhances him by giving him a scholarship. The man McIntyre, right, is there. And they work together. They're friends in America. They're still friends now. I think that dynamism should be emulated. That culture. We need to, we need to get back to those. I think we are too, vicious with each other in terms of our attitude to one another, in terms of the variance of our politics. I think it is too divisive.
Yeah. Now we have John T back.
Oh yeah, good.
John T, welcome again. Like everything else, sometimes we have to do number one and number two based on the circumstance. Now, John T, business. You are now, yes, a vet, but you're also involved in business and doing well. You can tell us, I think it's two, you're a vet doctor, and also you're involved in poultry. That's
well,
correct.
I know him, first of all. I know every Saturday he used to bring his pig meat.
For you? For you?
I would buy my pig meat from John T. He knows that.
The telephone has been going for the time, but let's hear what this caller has to say. Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, nobody from the East calling. I feel like calling John T and ask John T a question.
No, people calling you, but based on the conversation you're having, I'm really sorry about that. So you can ask John T your question.
Okay, let me go ahead right now. Mr. Toussaint.
Sir.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
I was a guy that raised up at River Civic. But it happened at River Civic. Could you remember that famous fisherman that used to hold a lot of quibish in Rosalie River?
Which one, Rudy?
Ha! You got it right. Rudy. Okay, I'm listening. You got it.
All right,
I'm listening.
All right. Rudy just wanted you to know that he's listening.
I don't know where he was from, but I know you saw a lot of quibish in the Rosalie River.
No, Rudy and Israel. Israel was my grandfather.
Yeah, good evening, I'm listening.
Good evening, thank you.
I know all about that because I raised that river, so I know that river. Good.
All right, then, thanks.
Good night.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead, John D. So John T, we were saying that you are now involved in business. You can give us the various tiers of business that you are involved. Help us to understand from a vet doctor, from a politician, now to a successful businessman.
Well, I started as a vet. We used to do little private practice in the gardens. From the time I was an assistant, we would do all food animals, government, but dogs and cats, we could do it as a private practice. Then the PS then said we have to operate us like the medical doctors. We have to have our own little clinics, and we cannot do any private work in the government's place. So I had to get a little spot, Cordon got a little spot. It was 2 vets in place then. Dr. Paul used to bring in feed, a container of feed, and for himself. So I started bringing half a container with Dr. Paul because his feed, he alone used to catch some weevils. So half of container for me, half for him. So bring the container in 2. But believe me, I used to really take blows because although I have half a container, I used to catch a lot of weevils. Because those days you had wind feed in full swing, you had breeze bait in full swing selling feed. And half container was a problem for me to sell. But I kept on with it because I was not depending on it 100%. I was doing my private practice. People like my service. I don't want to brag myself, but I have been doing a good job for people. I always try to please my clients. I always try to go out of the way to make sure I assist them, regardless of what time they call me, I try to help them. So because of that, my business grew and my private practice grew. Then as wind feed started expanding and Brisbane started going a little down, I started coming up. Together, Mrs. Favre, she started feed around the same time with me. No, she started feed. I made a mistake. She started feed when I went as a minister of government. But she used to help me because she was a businesswoman. She used to help me with my feed before she started us. So I'm moving on this way. When after I left the government as a minister, I was given little contracts. I served the contracts, but I got some problems with things I think that was not right. So I left the PS and I could not see eye to eye. So I decided, boy, I'm bigger than that. I live in that. I left and I started doing consultancies all about. I get them for FAO. I did for PAHO. I did consultancy for FAO. I did consultancies for CARICOM. I did some work with PAHO and Tuskegee University. As a matter of fact, we did a complete trainers workshop in the Caribbean, PAHO and Tuskegee. And then the same group, we went to Sub-Sahara Africa and Ethiopia. We did the same training there. I did this. The last consultancy I did was to evaluate the emblematic program with FAO, myself and Abbas Sid from Trinidad. Then the PM called at a funeral. The PM called me and told me he wants to see me. I went to talk to him, and then he told me about to head the AIU unit. I tell him no problem. It's a challenge. I'll do it, and I took it on. He called me once again. He told me about the abattoir. I tell him it's a good idea because we importing about $14 million worth of chicken, of pork, and over $16 million worth of chicken. So if we can get at least 2 million, 3 million circulate among our local farmers, it's a positive vibes. So I think we should work on it. So I started working on the abattoir, trying to get things done. If you put the plan together to slaughter the animals and you don't have production, it doesn't make sense. So I tried to speak to the vet at the time to tell him, comrade, you have to put a livestock development program in place, because by the time the abattoir finish, we have to have enough animals to slaughter. He wouldn't do that. And it's a fight. I could not take that fight. I just decided to invest in it. I had pigs already, so I just decided to go bigger into pigs. And I end up, so that I could supply it, I end up reaching close to 1,000 pigs. So I sold my pigs, I sell them feed, and as I told you, as Brisbane go out of feed, I started selling more feed. Then my favorite joined, so we were doing it good. Then other people joining. Jacko is there now, and everybody's supposed to survive. And everybody who wants to go into the feed business, even though we save the same farmers, the same clientele, but it's a survival for everybody, and I have no problem with that. So the business is, you treat your customers good, they will come back. You treat them bad, they will not come back. So that is how I operate. The pigs, I have so many pigs because at the beginning the abattoir was not taking my pigs. Again, same reason. They don't want to see me. The vet at the time did not want to see me have those pigs. So I continue with it, and I still have my pigs today, but right now I decreasing because the abattoir is not there. But I was told that the abattoir is supposed to come back into operation very soon. And as soon as the abattoir comes back into operation, I'm going to increase my production. But for now, I've cut down my production. But my sale of feed is still doing good. I treat my farmers good. I'm never too busy to help a farmer. Whether to sell to him or to attend to his animal, I always make time for my farmers. Always. Because I always learn, you always do to people what you want them to do to you. And I know if I don't have food for my animals, or if my animal's sick, it's just like your child sick. And if you're looking for help and you can't get help, it's a headache, it's a stress for you. I wouldn't want that stress for myself. So if I can help people, I'll just move right ahead and help them. So that's what keeps me going.
Let me ask you a question. You made an observation, and I need to follow up on it. You made a statement in terms of you must have the pigs ready for the abattoir. You don't have the abattoir ready, and then you go for the pigs. Why did you make that statement?
Because those things have to be done simultaneously. If you finish the abattoir, to use an abattoir is to slaughter the animal. If you the abattoir completely and what animals to slaughter, then it's wasting time. It's going to take a long time. So it has to be decided simultaneously. You have to plan. You know you're going to finish the abattoir in 6 months, a year. You have to put a production plan in place. If you know you want to do, say, 50 pigs per day for 3 days for the week, you have to know you have to have X amount of pigs for the week. You have to get farmers prepared to deliver those pigs to the abattoir for the week. So as I tell you, you have to plan. Otherwise, you'll have the abattoir there, no animals to work. People lose interest. The workers, they lose interest. They look for other jobs. So for it to be successful and for it to reach, okay, the idea is to cut down your meat import costs.
Bill.
Meat import bill. That's what you want to cut down. That's the purpose. And food security. You want to make sure if there's any outbreak, any other country, anywhere, that locally you can stand. All countries should do that. So you have to have your production in place. So that is exactly what I'm saying. You must have the abattoir ready. Otherwise, so things have to be done together.
Until some time ago, I read something in reference to your pigs and a river. Can you help us to have a greater understanding as to what the people were actually talking about, or what the person was actually talking about?
No, that was just politics. Pure politics. You see, where I had my pigs at La Plaine, that was a government piggery. It was not John T. Piggery, it was government's piggery. I was renting it. And I have my pigs there, and I increase the production. So I build more structures. So sometimes you used to get a little overflow water, but the water was never reaching river. It was far from river. But for political reasons, I was in the politics. So the opposition, at that time their plane was opposition, they start giving a lot of problems, try to make, I guess, John C. and Labour Party bad. So they giving me all kind of bad name, but they test the water without my influence. They come and take water how many times? Water was never contaminated. Matter of fact, I brought Joey there, and for him to see for himself, because I tell he's my friend, and he and Afi and them very tight, and instead I was spreading that kind of propaganda. So and
Joe, your mentor?
Yes, Joey, yeah, because we are friends, we are very good friends. So he came to see exactly to advise, because Joe is an agriculture, he's economist, but he work at ICA. He was director of agriculture, here, with workers. Yeah? So he knows agriculture. So it's a matter of coming and see what he can advise me if you feel. I tell, come and see, come, because I want people to see exactly what's going on. It's not the truth. I had nothing flowing in the river. Never had anything flowing in the river. Never. And it was far. And it wouldn't be my place, it's government place. So why would the government build a piggery next to a river? It was a distance from the river.
So you're saying that, as you were saying earlier on, you're saying that it was basically that of politics rather than that of looking at the issue.
Yes, it was politics. Matter of fact, my very good friend, we got vexed and we stayed not talking for a while, but I'm happy that right now we come back cool. Because Julian Privot went to La Plaine to meeting, and he's on John T. Farm and telling La Plaine people what they should expect. And even Ron got pissed off with him. Because as far as Ron concerned, you can't go and do those things and say those kind of things. You see? But I don't know what point he was trying to prove. But at the end of the day, he failed. But right now, I am not there anymore. I am on my own property at Newfoundland, at Rosalie. So I'm very, 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 very far from river. So I will not experience that kind of
Bashing
or harassing anymore.
Yeah.
But are you still a consultant with the government in terms of its ability to probably raise the area in terms of poultry and piggery, in terms of what the expectation is by that year? Because I hear that they want to at least produce so many chicken per week and so many pigs per week. Are you aware of what the projection is?
Well, let me tell you, when I was head of the Agricultural Investment Unit, apart from putting a development plan in place when the chief vet then would not do it, I did it. We tried to get information from the livestock department, they would not give us. We went, myself, Franklin Joseph, and Michael McIntyre. The three of us that were in the unit, we went out and get our information and put it together and put a program together. We actually left a document at the Ministry of Agriculture, how this place should run to do 50 pigs. And the idea was not to have the abattoir selling meat retail. The idea was to create entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs throughout the country, so that everybody in Dominica can get a piece of fresh meat on a weekend if they so desire. It was easy. The abattoir would slaughter. If, say, today, Monday, you go enough, you drop vehicles, you have a person there, Penville, Pig Bush, you have different entrepreneurs, young fellas there. All you need, a little plywood house with a fridge inside and a counter and a scale. That's all you need. And a cotton board. So based on your sale, you will tell the abattoir how much you want every week, but it's a route. Every day, the abattoir will be going to distribute to those outlets. That was the plan that we left, but it never worked out that way.
Let's go to the telephone. John T., good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just had to call. I've been listening from the start. I want to big up John T. Very good interview. You bring back some memories there
Okay,
of
thank
the
you.
Cuba guys. But great interview, my brother. Wish you all the best.
Okay, thank
Virgin
you.
for life.
Thank you, thank you.
I love that. Brethren for
For
life.
No, help me to understand this. So you can, as a school teacher, I want reinforcement. You were saying that you do not believe in decentralization. You believe in decentralization in terms of having outlets where everybody can share in the profits made. That's what you're
No,
saying.
it's not profit. It's to make it readily available to every citizen of the country. For example, and also you creating employment. I think that is the idea.
You realize how John T is speaking on that issue, and that's because he have seen the success of that type of program in Cuba.
Yes.
No, but I want him to tell me about it because it is fascinating.
Yes.
Because what I'm hearing is something that we need to pay attention to. So say it again so we can agree to disagree.
What I'm saying is the abattoir will slaughter. I will bring 50 pigs to the abattoir, they slaughter it. And you will bring 8 and that order will be 20. Now, instead of going to retail, the abattoir not supposed to retail. The abattoir will distribute. Now, you distribute to local entrepreneurs in the different communities. All the local entrepreneur has to do is to get a location. It could be an existing shop or anywhere where people know you can get fresh chicken and fresh pork. And when we go to sheep and goats, you can get that at that spot every weekend. So every week, the abattoir will just drop into the outlets. So people, abattoir don't have to drive around. Right now, I can tell you, it's a headache. And there's a demand out there, but the market is scattered. I drive every Friday from Rosalie, passing through Concord, going down Marigot, Wesley, Calibishi, down to Portsmouth. Every Friday. If they don't want me, when you pass, they buy meat. So the market is there. The people want the meat. But to get it to them is the problem. So if at all we have local people in the area, they know where to go for their meat every Friday. Just like people in Roseau know to go to the Roseau market every Friday, they'll get their fresh local meat. People from Portsmouth know going to Portsmouth in the market every Saturday or Friday, they will get their local meat. So white people of Viecas and people from Marigot and people from Paybush or La Plaine cannot do the same. They know if you go by Tom Brown, you will get local meat. But that's a business for Tom Brown. And if he's doing very good for Tom Brown can also grow his own pigs, bring it to abattoir to slaughter at a cost, and sell his own pig.
I like that concept.
Decentralization.
Yes.
That is the idea.
And you are developing young minds, you're developing people who are interested in doing
Animal husbandry,
business.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So every community can be touched.
So they have a central point
Where they can get fresh meat
where
every
they can
week.
get fresh meat every week.
Every week.
And it has to be a constant.
Well, if your abattoir is working, and you have, for example, Monday you go north. When you load the truck, you go north. You know you drop in 2 pigs there, 3 pigs there. You go plan for north. And they slaughter in today. So tomorrow you're picking up for east. Or you picking up for south. You program yourself. And when you distribute the thing like that, it's easy. And you will encourage farmers to grow too. Because farmers going to produce. The demand is high, but farmers going to produce. So you created more jobs again because you're going to have more livestock farmers.
Okay.
I'm talking about pigs, poultry is the same, because Dominica consume a lot of chicken. Over $16 million worth of chicken we consume.
On an annual basis?
Imported chicken.
How many?
Yeah, about 16 million. So let's just say 5 million spread in the local chicken population. Farmers. This is a big push for us. Every home have chicken every day,
Everybody eating chicken every day, practically.
If you don't have it for lunch, have it for dinner, or you have it for breakfast, or eat it as snack.
So that's a big market there.
I mean, so if we can produce our chicken,
Very interesting. Cecil?
you just have to organize.
I like that concept, and it is workable.
Very
It
easy.
has succeeded other places before.
It's not costly. It's not costly. It's not costly at all. You start in a business from practically nothing.
Yeah.
So that was the idea of the abattoir.
And that you still have that plan. You said you
Well,
worked on
I
a
left the
plan.
document in the ministry because it was not my document, it was theirs. I put everything together. When the abattoir was taken away from me, I left everything and I gone.
Okay.
I still continue working after that. Then I realized, I told the PS then, I don't really want to continue as head of AIU, but if they need my assistance in any other way, I'm willing and able
to
to
give
help.
that assistance.
But unfortunately, I spoke to ministers. But John T, boy, I like the idea, boy. I will check you, man. What's your number? But I never get a call from them.
Yeah, because I would tend to think, Cecil, if you have a person who has done it before and it's working, then why invent the wheel again, In other words, my thinking is to reinforce it, that is to build on it and move forward. Because an idea that's worked, a lot of people like to change the idea. But if the thing is working, if the idea is working, then you need to run with the idea or reinforce the idea. That's my belief, because if it's working, why not keep it? Things that work, we don't change it for the sake. You don't change because of the sake of change. I don't believe in that concept. Let's just change because we have to change.
Let's take a call.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Bird.
Good evening.
And good evening, John T.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I listening to the program and I listen to what John T is saying, and all of us have to be in sync with what is going on in Dominica. Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of this, we have to be in sync, Ministry of Culture, in sync with what is going on in this country. And if we can't come together and help each other to do what we have to do, we'll be in problems. That's what we have. We have to learn to, when it comes to culture, agriculture, and education, and ongoing education have to be there. You see how all John T talking about certain places you distribute the distribution centers and how to do something. So this coordination have to be in sync. They have to be in sync and unison when it comes to that. The farmers have to produce the material. Now we have to look at when it comes to feed. The feed for the pigs, the feed for the chicken. Let's see how we can create a place that we can create our own feed. Whether it's organic feed or we have the potential as a country to do that. But we are afraid of ourselves. Every time we go into something as a mediocrity. I hear John T talking about doing a distribution here and there. We'll put a little plywood house and put a little shop there. Man, let's not go that way, man. Let's do a air-conditioned building with nice refrigerators, stuff, where you can employ 2 people there. And if we can do that in the 21 constituency, we don't have to necessarily do it all about. In the 21 constituency, okay, you have Bios, Collio, Jubla, that constituency. One of these places, maybe Central, Bios or Collio, set up a place where the abattoir people can drop the meat. You have a machine where you can slice it properly in steaks, in chops, in pork chops, and different ways that we can do it. We have a chill, we have a freezer, so it can be sustainable, that you can have meats in this one constituency in one place for weeks. But let us do it properly. It's just like we're doing fishing, landing sites and then we're cutting fish on fish pod and no air-conditioned place or whatever. Let's do a proper place, a proper house, a proper air-conditioned place where the meat can stock and people can see it and people will buy it. Now, to cut down costs, let us see how we can produce the feed and the feed for the chicken to cut down costs. Let us see how we can subsidize certain things for the farmers, that the meat can be cheaper at all times. And in less than no time, my brother, you have to do the education that, hey, look, you have to tell the people, when you see I telling people about meat and overseas meat, my brother, I tell them, hey, when meat coming down and chicken coming down and pork coming from Dominica, that slaughter in the south, that taking 6 months, that going down to another state, another 3 months. Sometimes a whole year and something before that chicken reach us in Dominica. And that freezing thing, too much freezing thing right up on right south to Dominica. My brother, is more money. The meat itself is not a good standard. We're talking about non-communicable diseases. All those meat that slaughter from 1 year, 2 years, and it coming down to us. And sometimes, we get in secondary meat. No joke. We get in secondary service, secondary meat when it comes from overseas. So you have to tell people it will be beneficial for our health. That if we slaughter here, we're making our feed organic feed and better feeds for the pork, for the pigs to eat, and it'll be a better price for us that when we eat this thing from here, it'll be better for our health. We know how to grow them, how to do what size, what food for it not to be too fat, lean pork. That's what. So the education has to be there. Going to school, starting the primary school, starting the secondary school, educate the people why you should buy the meat in Dominica, because those that come from overseas, it's slaughter from 9 months, 1 year, and that's going to be a problem, health problem. So when it's slaughter here, it's cutting back on that hospital we have to go, because it's a better thing for you to eat. I'm telling you, and all those fish from overseas, it's not good, because Dominica is the only place that's selling a good fish, our good fish, because what? The amount of rivers that flow into the sea, our fish is sweeter. All the other countries don't have much rivers. So you find, and they have copper grass. You know what is copper grass? The fish eating copper grass, you must fish 30 miles out of sea in Antigua, all those places to get good fish. Dominica, you can fish right there 10 miles, because we don't have much copper grass. So all them fish that over in Antigua, all over the place, St. Martin, all is copper grass. That can poison you. So Dominica, because of the excess water flow into the sea, our fish is sweeter. We get more fish, but we have to be serious about agriculture. We have to shake ourselves and tell ourselves, let's be serious. That lip service thing we're doing to our people there, let us stop that foolishness and be serious about when you're doing things. John, I support you full time, but that little cardboard house you want to put pork for people to sell, let's go air condition, nice building, and let's look good. Have a blessed night, my brother.
Thank you. John T, anything you have to add or subtract from what they...
Well, what he said is a good idea, is a fact. We're getting third-class chicken here, nothing good. The time of slaughter, we never know. It could be 6 months, it could be 9 months. Chicken moving and chicken coming back. Sometimes chicken reject and they send it to third world countries. We know that. So that is why we want to produce our local meat, which is safer and healthier. And the thing is that most of our merchants, they prefer to buy the imported meat cheap. And don't buy the local meat. Because just imagine, I can recall they used to sell...
You want to hold that thought? There's someone's on the line there quickly. Just hold that thought and come back to your point. Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, Cecil. Hello, Cecil.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good night. I'd like to ask John C. I would like to say something to John C. as he on the line.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yes. John C.
Yes, sir.
I'm speaking from Grand Forks. I will mention in my name that is Titus Pascal, right? I want to congratulate you on many things you said, but studied in Cuba. Yeah.
Don't listen to your radio, please. Don't listen to it.
Studying in Cuba, and then what I would like to ask you, I can remember under Mr. Harris, right, as chief vet and so on, and we studied in Guadeloupe.
And I would like to ask you is that, you make certain good points, but I would like to tell you that with the abattoir, and there are people, farmers that have really production in the southeast and so on.
I think the caller is listening to himself, so I think you have to call back, caller. When you call and you get us put off the volume of your radio, and you can chat with us, all right? Because right now, as you're speaking, we're not understanding anything you're saying.
I don't understand.
Yeah, so I really, you're all about the place. I'm really sorry about that, but you'll have to call us back, put off your phone, your radio, and then you can speak with us.
Yeah, as I was saying, the meat we get most time is third class meat, not the top of the line meat we get in. As the caller rightly said, sometimes this meat probably dies 6 months ago. We don't know how long it's in storage. You don't know, and it come in here. Sometimes chicken reject. They sending it out to third world country, which is the chicken is a mafia stuff, and the mafia they really grow the chicken for the breast and the wing, and all the rest they consider to be waste, and that is selling to us cheaply. Same thing like pork. When we buying imported pork ribs, what we buying? We are buying bones. That is rejects. That's things to throw, because they take off all the stuff on the rib to make bacon. So the rest of the bones, they take it, they box it, and they send it to us. It's more bones we get in. And people still buy that, and they say they're buying ribs. You know what I mean? There's no meat in that. So the caller is correct in the sense that it's better that we grow our stuff. But the merchants, they prefer to buy the cheap stuff, because that's what the people can afford. That's why that's running. But I can guarantee you, if we make it readily available to the people, they will buy it. I'm talking from experience, because I'm moving around selling, and the people are buying. Once you pass, they see the meat truck pass, they come in to buy. So if it is in their community, they will go and get fresh meat if they want fresh meat. Because when I pass the truck, or when the abattoir passes the truck and they buy, the meat still in the store, they could have bought it, but they choose to buy the one in the truck because it's available to them.
Fresh. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very interesting. What do you think about the idea that he's saying in terms of producing your own feed? Is that possible?
When I was developing the abattoir project, I looked at feed also. I wanted to do a complete program. And I contacted different people. And I was told to build the abattoir, you'll spend the feed plant, You'll spend $1 million to build it. That's cool. That's the cheapest part of it. Because to get the grains, it will be very difficult. The quantity of grain that you want, unless you want to make feed to sell out, it will be difficult. Now, for you to get the kind of growth you want, especially with layers, not too much for pigs, but especially with layers, which is specially formulated to get eggs, you have to have your proper balance of your diet, your nutrients. And if you want to do that, you have to get your stuff. If at all you, for example, Dominica, we're a small population. If you want to do things only for yourself, it will be very difficult to get corn, because right now they're even taking corn to make fuel. It's difficult. It's a competition. People want... Most of the feed plants in the Caribbean today are branches of American feed companies. In Grenada, in St. Vincent, in Barbados, all of them. Even when in Guadeloupe, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe is from France. They have bigger plants, so when they get their big grain, they'll send 2 big containers down to those smaller plants. That's how they'll do. So it's not easy to get the feed. Organic feed, true. But we have to get the farmers to produce the feed. Now, you have to organize the farmers to produce the feed. You have to buy the feed from them. But if you don't have a guaranteed market, the farmer's not going to produce. It's not too practical. Plus, we mountainous. Banana was a good supplement in the days of bananas. You could use that for pigs. When Titus talk about the French, that's what they're doing. Using the coconut meal and the ripe bananas and feed pigs, especially the finishers. But we ain't got coconut meal, we do have bananas now.
Let me ask you another question. What about subsidizing the farmers?
Well, who can subsidize farmers is the government. And I think the government is trying to subsidize the farmers, trying to help the farmers by putting money at the aid bank. But there's a problem with it. As I said, and I'll say it again, I'll say it on here.
What's the problem?
You will give a farmer a loan to develop his farm. He developed the farm. The food is ready. There's not an immediate outlet to get rid of it. If you don't create the outlet, you have a problem there. Also, as I speak to you, there's a problem with planting. Sometimes there's no planting in the market. Right now, there's a glut. Dashing is the same thing. If at all you're giving farmers loan, you have to create an outlet for them so that they can sell to pay back the loan.
So why is the banker who has to create that outlet? Why not the farmer coming together, setting a cooperative to allow them to get that outlet?
Well, yes, but who organized marketing for the farmer in America is Dexia. It's Dexia. The other people who buy in from the farmer are the hucksters. And the hucksters, when come, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm going to say, when you have a dashing field, for example, 50 bags, and the huckster taking 5 bags or 10 bags. Next week he don't come. The following week come for 10 bags. By the time come for 10 bags, the dashing 10. Now the farmer don't making money. By the time he sell the first 10 bags or the first 20 bags, the little money that he makes to feed his family, how can he pay the loan? So that is why I believe the way forward, we have to strategize and have different tier of farmers. You have the commercial farmer, the commercial farmer, the middle farmer, and there's the subsidized farmer. Once you do that, you know the commercial farmer will based on exports. You guarantee your market, so you can go out there and look for market. That's Dexia's responsibility, Minister of Trade. Look for market, and you know every week or every 2 weeks you will send X amount, so you produce for that. You get farmers organized, you know the volume, you know their acreage, you plan. You plan and you get your thing out. But I went to the dashing, I pay a fellow to weed. I pay a fellow to look for plants, to plant, to fertilize, to weed again, even to harvest. And when come to sell, after I sell 25 bags for Dexia, they don't take more. I never grow another dashing, to be honest. Because I just waste all my money. So we have to plan production. And once we give that money, for the farmers not to be delinquent, and the bank, if you're delinquent, they won't give you more money. You start the project, you can continue because the bank will give you more money. You cannot pay the bank back because you're not selling enough to get the money to give the bank. So that is why the money, we have to put it in the bank, but we have to program it to have different tier of production so that you give different farmers different amount of money to guarantee things. There are some farmers just to block the market to help, but there are some to sustain the market, to maintain the market. That's what you have to do.
John T, it was really nice having you tonight. It's already 1 minute before 11 o'clock. This time has gone right so quickly, right, John T? I told you so.
And we're just getting hot.
And we were just starting to get hot on the issue of business and trade. I know from your discussion with us that you enjoyed the program. Your last words, John T.
Well, I did enjoy the program, Cecil. And I love my country so much. I got my opportunity in the States to stay, to study. I got a scholarship, Cecil, that I did not say. Because of what and the work I did while I was at Tuskegee, I got a scholarship to do a PhD program. I started my PhD program. And after Dr. Christian died, I came home. Again, for the same discussion, I decided I'm coming home. And that's one thing I regret in my life. I should have continued my PhD program. But all being said, it was nice being here, and I'll continue to work with the farmers. I'll continue to help my country. I will continue to do what it takes to make Dominica what it ought to be.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very objective. It was very honest. It was very, very practical. Because one of the things that I like is to be able to stimulate discussion, and to get people to think about agriculture, because as you know, agriculture will always be the main lifeblood to me of the country's driving economic force. I see tourism, yes, but I still see agriculture as one of the main driving force of the country, because agriculture is the land we have, and it's the land we have to utilize. We have to grow or eat what we grew. That's my philosophy.
That is the mineral.
Eat what we grew.
That is what God gave us, God gave us fertile soil and plenty water to grow food. And that is our mineral, that is our gold. And that is what we have to take advantage of. And that is what will move us forward. The tourism, you don't know when some disease outbreak can come, or when this can come, or that can happen. When they decide to put an embargo on you, when they decide to ban you. You never know. World politics changing so fast nowadays. See what's happening to us, what they're telling us. We cannot get visa there, we can't do this. We don't know when things will happen. So we have to put our things in place at home, so that if they tell us anything, we can buffer it and we can move forward and our people can survive. Most important thing is the survival of our people and the livelihood, good livelihood, healthy livelihood of our people. Make sure they eat right and they eat the correct thing. Grow what you eat, as you rightly say, and eat what you grow.
I want to agree with the both of you all, but I also want to add by saying that I see agriculture as a linkage to all the various departments of the ministries, that will help in the whole development of agriculture and the development of our country. So, John T., it was really nice having you tonight. A very good discussion. I like the way we were able to develop our story, and I'm sure that many people tonight who listen will call you in the morning and to tell you, John T., good program. Thank you very much for your honesty. Thank you very much for being there with us tonight, and thank you very much for being part of our Discovery Lakou program as we continue to ensure that we make people know the success of other people's life through the Lakou. Thank you.
Okay, Cecil, it is a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So, guys, we can go now across to BBC World Service.
Yep.
And we know that it is time for BBC. Thank you very much for listening to DBS. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Those of you all who tried calling, and I'm sorry that I didn't take the calls because of many reasons. But I want to say to John T., thank you again. Thank you, listeners, and thank you, Hartley, for being on board with us. So we go across to BBC World Service.
They were fired at while tackling a wildfire in a forested mountain area. The sheriff of Kootenay County, Bob Norris, told a news conference that gunfire from automatic weapons was still taking place.
It's going to be the tough next couple hours. They are not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender.